Yo.
Oh, you're actually here. Okay, I was about to message you again. So what's up,
You
man?
had to take a piss real quick.
Yep, no problem.
Yo. Okay, are you ready to debate the Destiny thing? Do you want to do that still?
Well, let's figure out what we were talking about first. Um, you were trying to get me into call about the whole Bucky conversation, right?
I don't know if you're lagging out or if I'm.
You're lagging out. It's definitely you.
Fuck, hold on.
Lag problems.
Yeah, okay, what about now?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Alright, bet.
Okay.
Alright, so for the Destiny thing, what were you gonna say?
Well, the whole reason we came into contact again, I'm gonna mute him. We came into contact again because Bucky was implying like I was like instigating or starting shit between you and Parrot, which I don't think is true. I don't think that was the intention at all. Are you aware of that, or we still having some lag problems? Okay.
Okay, the intention behind what?
Okay, about behind the you and Parrot thing.
Oh, what exactly?
Like Bucky seemed to think that like I was trying to instigate you guys to debate.
Oh, I'd imagine so, which is fine.
Well, like I would love to see you guys debate, but that's not at all what I was doing. Because Achilles came into the chat and he was like
Just recently? Yeah,
yeah,
I
he
fucking asked him to.
yeah, he kept coming into the chat and he was like really talking about all of you guys. And he was like, "Oh yeah, man, like Trini was really just calling Parrot out, hammering into him or something." And I was like, "Oh shit." So I was asking Bucky because I wanted to hear Bucky's side of it because I only had Parrot and Naya's, and then I obviously couldn't message you because like it would just be like don't have a server or blocked or something. So like okay. So I was messaging Bucky and I was like, "Oh, so what's your opinion on it?" And then I was just like grabbing it, and then Bucky seemed to like imply that I was trying to instigate something with that when I was just trying to find out what was happening. So that's why that all started. I don't know, like, cause you seemed kind of mad about it or something. I don't know what was going on.
Oh, no, I'm just fucking. Wait, hold on, there's like a plane. Hold on.
Okay.
No, I was just fucking annoyed because whenever you guys have something to say, it's like literally never to me. And Bucky is my friend and all, but I swear to God, he gets half the shit I'm saying wrong. So I'd much rather just communicate it myself.
Yeah, that makes
That's
sense.
the issue.
And obviously,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it wasn't that I wasn't trying to communicate with you. It's that I couldn't, right? So I was just like, oh,
You could have
whatever.
added me, nigga.
Well, I was just like, I guess I just won't bother him. He doesn't want to talk to me. I don't know if he has me blocked or what. Yeah, that's
No, you unfriended me. What do you mean?
I didn't unfriend you, did I?
I'm pretty sure you did.
Well, like when you left the servers or whatever, you unfriended me. I remember that. So I don't know if we re-added each other after that, but I don't remember re-adding each other.
I think we did because I originally unadded you, and then the Clyde thing happened, and you were messaging me, so I think we re-added each other. And then I think you unadded me. I didn't know what the fuck happened, but yeah, I was just like trying to message you a little while ago.
Yeah, I don't usually unadd people, so I think that's out of character, but who knows.
All right.
Well, yeah. And then you really wanted me in here for something, and I'm still trying to figure out what did you want me in here for? Like,
Bucky told me you'd debate me on the Destiny thing.
oh, do you really want to debate me on that? Because I mean, sure. I mean, if you really want to, like when you asked me, you're like, I'll debate you on why Destiny's better than you right now. I'm like, I don't even really know. I mean, like, but I guess I could argue if you really want. I don't know, but yeah, we can go for it.
Yeah, we can do that right now. Although I'm gonna have to fucking walk home while I'm doing it. We can still do it though.
Sure. So,
All right.
what's your premise, man?
Hold on. Is it cool if I record this?
Sure.
All right, bet. Give me like 2 seconds because I got fucking.
Are you recording on your phone?
No, I'm too much of a fucking G for that. You know how it goes. Hold on a second. I'll do you in better. I'll record with the Discord bot.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there's
All
Discord
right,
bots
so-
to record. That's cool.
Yeah, I found that out recently because of Felix.
That's
Or
awesome.
Achilles, as you know him.
Yep. So, I guess we should establish, like, we're talking about Destiny, like, these days.
Yeah, just generally, yeah.
Okay, sure, we can do that then.
So would you say you're better than Destiny, or?
For the sake of the debate, I guess I have no choice, right? So I guess yeah, I'm better than Destiny now these days.
Okay, sure. Why would you say that?
I think that my current standings and my current feats are a lot better than his. Destiny, he's in this weird place right now where he's kind of realizing that there's definitely a league that he's not at, right? So like you have characters from Ask Yourself server who kind of had to educate him on what threshold deontology was, right? Because he didn't know what a polyaxiomatic position was, at least very fully. And he had this guy. Did you watch that whole thing, by the way?
Yeah, I watched the series of streams as
Yeah.
per recommendation of Mr. Cancerous Cringe in here. Yeah.
Yeah. I also recommend that to Bucky. But where was I going with that? Okay, so he gets this advice from this guy named Rem or Ram. I don't remember his name fully. But he has this guy with him totally holding his dick, and Destiny's like, I understand where you're coming from. And Ram is like giving all his arguments to Destiny about why Ask Yourself's positions don't work, blah, blah, blah. And then JHC comes in here. And JHC, mind you, is basically worse than Avi, Dr. Avi. Dr. Avi, mind you, is the same guy that got throttled by Jack from Krillism. And is also the same person that I had to slap on the law of identity. I actually slapped Dr. Avi on this law of identity. So JHC is this guy who's pretty much like bronze medal in this server, and he's running the gauntlet completely through Destiny and crew. Like they're pretty much nothing.
Wait, who did that?
JHC. He's basically like the philosophy professor.
Oh, you mean the walking, talking appeal to authority? That fellow? Yeah.
So basically what happened was he went in there and he was basically just rummaging through Destiny and his Philo squad that were trying to help him out. And by the end of the debate, it turned into Destiny versus his own guys. It was basically Destiny versus Rem at the very end because JHC had to basically teach them why they were being like extremely aggressive and just not understanding polyaxiom positions. So by scaling, I mean, if you want to go that argument, since we're literally scaling each other as debaters, I have to use that terminology.
Yeah.
Yeah, so by scaling, I would be above Dr. Avi, and Dr. Avi is above JHC, at least in terms of philosophy, debates, and debacles. And that's really the only way we have to directly scale each other, at least to a current Destiny. Destiny also has some bad anti-feats recently, like he had to go 2 rounds with Darth Dawkins. It took him like 25 minutes with the first debate, and Darth Dawkins was actually kind of pressuring him a lot of the time. Even Ask Yourself, who's kind of like neutral to both of them, was like, yeah, Destiny just seemed kind of out of his element. And in the second debate, he got a lot of coaching just to kind of handle Darth Dawkins. And it's like, even you yourself went in at Darth Dawkins. Parrot went at Darth Dawkins. Even Bucky kind of got in some words with Darth Dawkins. So that was a really bad anti-feat for Destiny. I won't say I'm like the best Destiny expert. I don't really worry too much about these guys, but when it comes to, from what I can tell recently, he definitely doesn't have many feats that compare to my own. And obviously I've been gauntleting like the entire Dragon Ball community. I gauntleted like 150 people in a call at once for like 3 days on end. I have pretty solid feats when it comes to all of that. And like I said, slapping Dr. Avi, who slapped JHC, who slapped all of Destiny and his goons at the same time. I think it's pretty easy to grasp that I'm probably better than current Destiny. Now, could Destiny come back and probably become way better than he is now? Maybe he's just having a bad little season or something. Probably, but I think right now I'd be better than him, yeah.
Okay, so I want to revisit one thing you said a little bit earlier. You said Rem was a Destiny guy?
Whoever, I don't know his exact name. He was like on the stream, like coaching him for like a few, because like what happened is that Avi debated Destiny, right, in like the round 2, because there's 3 rounds to the whole deontology.
Yeah, after he fucking owned Avi and Ask Yourself at the same time.
Whatever you think happened with that. They debated the first time, then Avi came in the second time.
I can go ahead and elaborate as to why Avi and Ask Yourself lost. It comes down to one basic thing. As you said, JHC had to talk about threshold deontology, and yet Avi literally said, okay, let's say the D means something else. Let's say it doesn't mean deontology. Mm-hmm. You recall that, correct? So they literally backtracked on their position collectively.
Right, and then it wasn't necessarily like they were kind of backtracking, but it was more like he was backtracking to re-explain his position. Does that make sense? Because like JHC was like, he kind of had to play devil's advocate, and he was just kind of explaining their position, what they were trying to say better, if that makes sense. But I wouldn't say that makes JHC better than Avi. I think it's just more so JHC was able to re-articulate an argument he heard from Avi to kind of hammer into Destiny a little bit better. Because obviously, I think Destiny respects JHC more due to his authority. Does that make sense? Because in the original debate...
Oh, yeah. I recall.
You remember this because Destiny's like, you know what? I won't accept this until a fucking PhD comes in here. And JHC's like, I'm a PhD. So I think Destiny was kind of like a little bit cucking to him. And I think that's why, you know, JHC definitely made some leeway with him. But,
he's not stronger than you think.
Shut the fuck up for a minute, Angel. You gotta wait till later. Yeah. Yeah, see, okay. Here's my issue, though, right?
Yeah.
He was already going to go ahead, and he wasn't going to necessarily debate GHC. He said, like, at the end with Avi, and ask yourself, yeah, I want to talk to someone with a PhD. Can we get someone with a PhD, right?
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, he wasn't even really looking to debate GHC. He wanted to hear the position.
So
ask yourself what Avi originally had it. They couldn't do it themselves.
So what happened was, are you an Ask Yourself server? So
yeah, I am.
So in Ask Yourself server, I believe they're in the philosophy channel. They were talking to Destiny, and they were basically just coaching Destiny, kind of making fun of him and bullying him. And basically, it was JHC was like, all right, I'll get into a call with you, Rem, or whatever it was. And it also came into account where JHC was basically just teaching Destiny what he wanted to know, because Destiny kind of cucked to the position. Destiny basically kind of like pseudo-conceded in this chat, and then JHC was just kind of laying the foundation to Destiny reestablishing his position to what Avi and Ask Yourself were trying to tell him earlier, which is basically what happened. So in my opinion, I do think that would be an L for Destiny, because Destiny did obviously yield his position. Regardless if you think that maybe he performed a little bit better in the debate, or maybe he was more convincing, he did end up actually yielding his position. So he did personally feel like his position was weaker and that his opponents were on a stronger footing. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, I cut out for like the last minute. Can you say that all again?
Oh, fuck.
I told you I was walking home. This is bound to happen.
Okay. Did you hear the philosophy chat part? Or
yeah, you said they got him to pseudo concede. What did you mean exactly? Like, how'd they get him to pseudo concede?
By pseudo concede, obviously pseudo is a weird word, but like by pseudo concede, it was kind of like
not a full concession, right? I know what you mean.
They were pushing him to the point where he was extremely questioning his beliefs, right? That's what was going on. And he's like, I need a better explanation. His boyfriend, Rem, was, like, really angry, like, no, this is bullshit, or something. I was trying to get JHC into a call, so JHC's like, all right, I'll get into a call with both of you. And basically, it was...
Wait, no, that's not true, though. Rem was originally the one Destiny argued with about the graph. So that's not even true. Like, they literally say at the beginning of the argument that, you know, Destiny had with Ask Yourself and Avi. Yeah, Rem originally got into an argument with this about Destiny, and like I just wanted to talk to Destiny about it.
Oh,
like, if you want to go look at if you want to go look at his YouTube,
that's what happens. Just clarify what you mean by that's not true. Like, what's not true in general?
That Rem was ever really an assistant of Destiny. He disagreed with Destiny before they even had an argument.
Did you see? There was an 8-hour stream Destiny had, and in this 8-hour stream, post Avi debate, Rem and Destiny are definitely on the same side, because Rem is trying to help Destiny construct a counter argument, and Destiny's mainly just agreeing with him for all the hours. They're not actually debating.
Are you talking at the October 22nd one or the October 23rd one?
Hold on, let me look at it real quick. Twitch, Destiny.
Yes, my death bucket is here.
Let me see. I think it was called like boring don't join or something. Yeah, boring memes don't come here.
What we ought now.
It was the one on it was 10 days ago. So let's see.
So the 22nd.
Not actually talking about friendship, really.
All right. What exactly is Rem
Right, so
agreeing
Destiny
with
said what I
Destiny
think
about?
was, like,
Because
an
it really
awesome thing.
depends.
Niggers are for losers, by the way.
Basically, Rem is just trying to support him with the whole situation because at this point, Destiny's kind of mad. Ask Yourself, because Ask Yourself kind of comes in, and Ask Yourself is like, basically like all of Destiny's fans. I don't know if you saw this too, but all of Destiny's fans start flooding into Ask Yourself's chat. And Destiny's like, dude, do not help him. Don't help with his fucking ego. Don't give him attention or whatever. And him and Rem are just like talking about the argument and like trying to like articulate a way around it. And then Destiny kind of gets like, he gets a little bit hoppity. Like he feels leapy, and that's why he kind of went back into their chat after like talking about it. Hold on. I'm just trying to find the exact timestamp. It's an 8-hour
There we go, okay.
stream.
So, like,
it's kind of hard to skim through.
But I'm not sure what it is. Like,
I think every
Oh,
debate
right now?
happens in this stream.
Sorry.
No, not everyone. The original one where Avi and Ask Yourself talk to Destiny
Yeah,
about
there's,
it
like, I think
happens on the
there's-
21st.
Yeah, there's like 2 debates, I think.
You can turn it up 1 notch to 10 dB if you want.
Hold on.
Formulas that get us to answers about the
Gotcha,
action.
gotcha. Okay, cool, cool. So you would have a set of values first, and then you would interpret.
I think
that
it's
through
like at the start
framework
of the stream.
deontology or consequential, or deontology or consequentialism.
Yeah, what specifically
I
though?
mean, that would probably be the wrong way to go. I think most philosophers would say you should have the framework first and then use that framework to arrive at your values.
Because remember, at the beginning of
basically he's helping.
yeah.
He's helping Destiny. Yeah, he's helping Destiny with the whole like, no, this is utilitarianism. This cannot be threshold deontology, or this can't be any form of deontology.
Well,
So
them
he's
saying
kinda
it's
that.
not threshold deontology might
No,
work in terms of
it's-
agreement, but
he's-
they both can't say it's utilitarianism because just a few days earlier, Rem was saying it was different.
But yeah, in this, they're saying it can't be deontology or deontology. It has to be like one or the other. Like basically, after the debate, they kind of like morphed their positions to the point where it's like they're kind of like grandstanding their position because they feel a little bit pressured, and they feel like, yeah, if they agree that
well,
it can be a polyaxiom position or that can exist, it's kind of like, well, then they're right, because it's like they're mainly just disagreeing with the fact that threshold deontology can even exist, and that's why JHC had to bring up the argument. What was it like? The argument was, okay, say that you don't care about a girl's weight, but once a girl reaches over 500 pounds, you're like, this is a problem for me, right? And that was an argument JHC had to present because Destiny and Rem were both at now kind of devolving to the point where they didn't believe in polyaxiomatic systems. Does that make sense?
The issue with that is the reason Destiny doesn't believe in such thing as a polyaxiomatic system is because it's not rigorously defined.
Right, and that was what JHC, Avi, and Ask Yourself were all trying to do. And now,
Yeah.
like I said to you earlier, Ask Yourself and Avi may have like underperformed on this level, but it was enough to make Destiny kind of like pseudo yield his position, like to the point where he was just questioning it heavily, to the point where he was just willing to just blatantly listen to JHC just explain his disbelief away, which is exactly pretty much what happened at the very end. And it felt
Yeah, Destiny is weak to appeal to authorities. I won't disagree with that.
which is
the
an
issue-
extreme weakness in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, that's
it's a
a
fucking
big-
terrible weakness.
Big L, yeah. And not only that, but he was actually appealing to authority from his end before he learned an authority like of like JHC's caliber even existed as well, which was even worse. So he was using like sophistry fucking level arguments in this new age. And then on top of like the whole Darth Dawkins thing, I just do not see him really being on my level. Like, he might have had past showings, but I feel like, and you probably agree with me on this, I mean, especially after the whole like Wade debacle, maybe Wade's better now, I don't know what you think now, but people do like devolve and re-evolve depending on like what's going on with them. So maybe he's like depressed or something, but current Destiny, I just don't see him on my level. I feel like he's more in like a growing stage right now. if that makes sense. He's definitely going back to his training or something and trying to reevaluate his positions rather than being a top contender, if that makes sense.
Well, put it to you this way, right? This is how I judge who's better. It depends on who I believe would win in a debate, correct?
I'm going to pee real quick. Think about this point.
Go for it.
Yep.
Hey, Trini, what y'all debating on?
Trini, what are we debating?
Yeah, Trini, what you debating, man?
Yo,
What's up? What you debating?
nothing. Debating Seth on basically a skill level in comparison to another debater.
Yeah, No Luck told me that part, but is he like, do you honestly believe this, or are you just fucking with him?
Dude, I'm not gonna say that in the middle of a recording. Goddamn.
Alright, but what's up?
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So here's my issue, though. He does have one blatant weakness, and that's an appeal to authority. In your case, it wouldn't work. You don't have any ability to appeal to any real authority in any debate you guys could conceivably have.
I disagree. The one debate he wanted to debate me on was on GT's writing quality of Vegeta, in which I could have used any other form of Vegeta just to counteract why that Vegeta is terrible. And I could have blatantly appealed to authorities such as Toriyama and the Dragon Ball Super writing staff, which blatantly say they are worrying more about the actual writing of the characters in comparison to what they did in the past. Because obviously New Age Dragon Ball material is obviously way more well constructed due to the fact that it makes like $1.2 billion a year now, and it's basically the number one like well earning source, and it's gradually increasing. So they're worrying about more writing qualities for the characters. So the only argument I have to make for Destiny with an appeal to authority is no, like Toriyama and all the original staff agree that this is like very well written compared to anything else they've ever worked on, and Toei is involved. So I feel like if we did get into a debate about what he kind of suggested, so that's a good hint of where we would kind of go, I would prefer not to, because I don't really want to beat him on a nerd topic, because I feel like me beating him on a nerd topic is like a cop-out, because obviously I've been doing it way longer than he has. But I could say the same vice versa, right? He's been doing like politics and philosophy way longer than I have, right? So I think if it did go down to what he was suggesting we do, he would have gotten destroyed. And there's many opportunities and many appeal to authorities I could have made. And it wouldn't have been like if I used a guide on you and he'd be like, well, that contradicts this. He would just be like, oh, okay, well, he said so. That's extremely fodder. That's terrifying. And I would obviously use that to my advantage after witnessing this JHC SmackDown.
Yeah, the issue with that kind of appeal to authority is that's what's classified as an appeal to false authority. In this case, it would actually judge the writing value. You'd have to get someone who's external to the series. He can make a very simple argument along the lines of, well, of course he'd say this is like the best, this is the most characterized version of Dragon Ball. You could say that obviously it's just a marketing strategy, and you can make that argument pretty quickly. I'm sure if I could come up with that like in about fucking 15 seconds, he would.
I actually doubt he would, though. The reason
he's a lot more quick on his feet than he thinks.
Well, no. The reason I doubt he would is because he's far more accepting of what the authors actually intend and want, right? So, like
authors with regards to academic writing, though, not just storytelling. Like if J.K. Rowling said something along the lines of, "Yeah, Harry Potter's actually really well written. This is the best Harry Potter in the series."
Well,
he'd still call it absolutely fucking retarded.
That's not necessarily what I meant. Maybe I misworded it a little bit. What I meant is like, with these authors coming out explaining their writings and narrative pieces more, there's more to work with. Does that make sense? So like with Destiny, he kind of has these lukewarm arguments where he's kind of assuming narratives and all of this, whereas with actual Dragon Ball Super writing, they blatantly explain the complex narratives that they have going for it. So like, for instance, did you read the whole Jiren knockdown that they had? or like the entire like topo thing they had, or anything?
Like, what specifically do you mean?
So, like, for instance, they explained, like, hold on, someone's like knocking on my roof. Yeah, so
It's like, yeah, I'm right by fucking traffic. So.
yeah. Okay. I guess I just have to ignore it. So basically, they explain things like this. So, say, what was Topo versus Vegeta? Topo versus Vegeta, by the author's intent, was this. It was basically, Topo has this pride as a pride trooper. And he's disregarding all of his pride and who he is as a fighter to kind of become this god of destruction so that he can win against the other universes or something, blah, blah, blah. And Vegeta is representing his arcs of character development into the point like we saw earlier in the Buu sagas and etc., where he believes in himself as a warrior. And then this would obviously be counteracted by Jiren, and Jiren, using the same philosophy as Vegeta, is considered an antagonist because he disregards all his friends for the same pride, and that pride is weak to what Goku is, and it's exaggerating why Vegeta was always inferior to Goku, right? And this is explained by literal authors and all this stuff. But you never get anything like that with GT, right? GT is very flat. It's just like, oh, well, it's like how Vegeta was at the start of the Buu saga from the Cell games. It's like that natural extension, except it's from the end of the Buu arc to GT, where it's just like, oh, well, this should be his natural extension based off what we know, rather than what we actually see develop. So all I would have to say is, from that line of reasoning, that Destiny would not have a counter to Vegeta being good in that case. He would just seem like a flat character in comparison. And I'd actually had a similar debate with Quaman's Land recently, and I consider...
Oh god.
Now Quaman, he's kind of a goofball, but the dude was actually surprisingly okay at debating. It was weird. Apparently he did 6 years of debate team. I don't know what that exactly entitles, but that's what he was claiming. And it was a very similar argument with Quaman's Land, because I was playing devil's advocate trying to say that Buu was a better character than Cell. And that's generally what it comes down to when you have these flat narratives that don't really go anyplace else because they disappear. You kind of lose out rhetorically, and that's definitely what happens to Destiny.
I'm sorry, say that like last 20 seconds again. I just had like fucking jets flying over my head.
Yep. You good now? Or do you want
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, and so basically I was just playing devil's advocate, arguing against like Buu versus Cell. I was arguing as Buu while Quaman argued as Cell. And then there's obviously flat characteristics to some characters because they want to assume the natural extension of these characters. Like, you know, what would Cell be like if he won compared to what is Buu like if he won? You can only assume, oh, well, Cell would just be evil, whereas Buu would try to be constantly trying to understand his humanity, or the humanity of the evils he always absorbed that turned him evil to begin with, which would make him a more complex character later on. And it'd be the same thing with Super versus GT, right? GT naturally extended is Vegeta turns to this flat character. Oh, I guess he's accepted his Earth life, blah, blah, blah. Whereas in Super, we understand the faults in his pride and why he would turn into something like that later on. So it's more of like, it's better writing in that case, and you could call it directly bad writing that GT Vegeta would be put into that case, right?
So, real quick. I want to cut in.
Hurry the fuck up.
Am I allowed to give a fucking interjection? I don't know.
No.
Colleen, shut the fuck up. No, I'm kidding. Go for it, dude.
Oh my god, I fucking do it. Oh my god, the sexism jumped out. Anyways, so I fucking so I'm assuming you're debating like writing stuff, right? Like that's
No, we are not.
No.
No, not you. I'm saying you're going to like argue with somebody else about that.
Theoretically, no.
Okay,
They
let's just
probably
keep
aren't
this-
going to.
We're just gonna keep this between me and Trini, but like we're arguing basically me versus Destiny, and Destiny implied if we were to debate that we should debate basically Vegeta's writing character versus like whatever I wanted, pretty much. Yeah, why he's a good character. So basically I was just explaining to him why there are numerous points or flaws in Destiny's like current logic that we know of that might tear him down if we were to debate.
Okay, two problems.
Right, here,
go for it, Colin.
You go ahead. I'll say it after.
Just hurry up. Just hurry up, dude.
Okay.
Wait,
okay.
no. Is this Is this me versus Trini or me versus Wade and Trini? What's going on here?
I'm not arguing against you. I'm not arguing against you.
Knowing Colin,
I didn't realize
Colin's
you
gonna
were
say
arguing.
some shit against me. Yeah.
No. I want to give like a pointer if you are gonna debate Destiny, like a new, like a different approach to it.
Yeah, we're me and Trini are actually having a little.
Yeah, that'll be just super off topic. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it was on topic with what you're talking about Vegeta's writing. That's what I was gonna talk about.
I feel like what you're saying, yeah, it's all good. You probably have good intentions, but it's just
Destiny,
well, finish your fucking bullshit so I can correct you both. Fuck you.
Alright, so is Destiny like?
I want to see you correct me on your Marxism shit because you're failing this morning. But whatever.
I already did.
Yeah,
I already
you can catch
did.
these hands afterward. You can catch these hands afterward. But
real
quick,
I was the last one to reply to that. How the fuck?
You said you wanted to call. Oh, can we get into the call? I'm not about this typing shit. Get the fuck out of here.
I'm not about that typing shit.
Then don't say I'm not about that typing shit and then get mad when I don't reply. Like,
no, you said that I was fucking ducking and I was the last one to reply. That's all I was saying.
When did I say you were ducking? I said you already caught these fucking hands.
Just let him go.
Why don't you fucking talk about Destiny? Why are you fucking swinging at me? I didn't even do shit.
You randomly interjected. You were like, I correct you both.
Yeah,
you know what? Okay.
I thought I could give. I thought we were trying to help Seth beat Destiny in the debate, and I had something that I thought might help him.
God,
I'm sorry.
the pointless argument.
Okay, you know what, Seth? Okay,
whatever.
You know what, Seth? They're starting over this point real quick. So, or I'll start off where we last left off. Please shut the fuck up.
No, we're just gonna start off where that was the Boo versus Cell analogy. All right.
Yeah. So here's my thing: you're conflating authorial intent and that appeal to authority.
No,
with an appeal to academic authority.
I was mixing them. I completely dropped that point already. All I was saying is that what I was saying from that point was instead of like grandstanding, no, he would just blatantly concede. It was more so that there is more authority explaining these narratives in more complex detail than Destiny would ever be able to come up with for Vegeta, since GT Vegeta is overall a very flat character due to his evolution. And I was able to explain my whole rant. I don't know if you heard it. My whole rant was basically explaining why all the characters in the, like, at least in the Tournament of Power, just Toppo, Jiren, and all of them, and even Goku, how it actually completed Vegeta's narrative and why it was making him weaker as a character, and why he would evolve into what he would be in GT. And whereas GT is just like the end point of that, and the authors would then back up my opinion as being correct. Does that make sense?
Well, the issue is Toriyama didn't write GT, so that's a big thing. Toei isn't writing GT, so of course they'd prefer their product. I guess another big issue with that
Toriyama didn't write most.
Yeah, he just made character design.
Yeah, I never said that. Yeah, basically the same staff that worked on both is just Toei or Toei, and I don't know if it's Shueisha. I don't think Shueisha.
Well, no, Toriyama is the one who wrote the script and everything for Super. Shueisha and Toei didn't actually write it.
No.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if you know this or not, but there's actually certain writers for certain episodes. So like,
and who wrote the framework though? That was completely Toriyama.
The only framework that exists is like I want these two.
The one similarly used by them.
Like this, it's like I want these two characters to fight one time. That's pretty much all he says. A lot of the notes he gave, even like Toyotaro says this, is I want Zamasu to be as strong as 2 Super Saiyan Blues. That's the kind of notes he gives. He doesn't actually write the details. When you ask, like, say, for example, the author of 17 or the Krillin versus Goku episodes, what he says in detail is what I was thinking. So basically what he was thinking for these characters' narratives, or how they should interact with Goku, is I just wanted Goku to test them or whatever. That's why Goku went blue against Krillin. I wanted Krillin to kind of see what it was like to fight against a god, blah, blah, blah. So no, these other script writers are actually doing more of the details and kind of explaining these things, not Toriyama. Toriyama is just explaining, okay, these guys are fighting here. And even then,
okay, so he's just giving the general premise and they're the ones detailing everything, is what you're saying?
Yeah, they're the ones like creating the actual like interactions really with the characters. He just gives like, I want the story to kind of go this way, and you can just kind of fill in all the details of what that means. It's pretty much what's happened. Yeah. Yeah,
so I mean, either way, he did build up the skeleton at the very least, which I think we're in agreement.
It's just not. He's just not the authority.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's flushing it out. Yeah, I mean, even then though, you would go ahead and you'd bolster whatever new product you have as the best one.
Well, they
we
weren't,
put
they
a lot
weren't
of
saying
time
it
into
was the
Super.
best thing ever. They were just explaining it.
Did they say it was better than GT directly though?
This is why. So they were saying things like this. So a lot of people, when watching Dragon Ball Super, they didn't understand a lot of things that are happening. So like
Yeah, they were all under the age of like 12, I'd imagine. Yeah.
So like for instance, they didn't understand why Krillin was fighting Super Saiyan Blue. They didn't understand why Jiren felt so flat as a character or what the fuck he even wanted. And these are obviously more subtle clues that a lot of the audience, like you just said, wouldn't understand. So the actual director and screenwriters of these things came out and just blatantly kind of explained it, which obviously no author should ever really do that, but they did it because nobody was fucking getting it because they were all 12 years old. But they were just explaining what these narratives were and why they worked. And they were also explaining why these had so much effort compared to things such as like Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT in terms of like writing quality and all that, and how Dragon Ball Super was focusing way more intently on these narratives.
Okay, so is there ever a direct comparison made between GT and Super?
I think there's a statement that like Super should be way better than GT, at least in terms of how it's working. But
Wait, you think or you know?
I think, because I remember there was like a somewhat vague statement. I'm not using this for an argument. I'm just like
saying.
I'm just entertaining
Okay.
you. Yeah, I think there was like a statement here or there or something, but it was definitely more on that like advertising product kind of line, because it was more like during Battle of Gods and Revival of F probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, unless there's a direct statement which you know of, even if we were to go down the lines of an appeal to authority.
You're misinterpreting. No,
yeah.
you misunderstood that again, because I'm not.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying your original point was about the appeal to authority. Like that's what we were talking about. His weakness.
No. It was basically me saying that there are authorities that would help exaggerate my position more. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. And my thing was, he has an obvious weakness to appeals to authority, but Toriyama is not like a PhD in literature, which is like obviously the hallmark of difference.
Once again, it wasn't Toriyama. It was like an actual like professional screenwriter. So no,
well, being a professional screenwriter doesn't mean you're good.
That guy probably does have those PhDs in screenwriting and all that. So I don't.
No, there are a lot of people who don't actually have PhDs in literature in order to go ahead and narrate.
Sure. Well, the screenwriter for a multi-billion-dollar company more than likely does. I mean, we could like look there. There's obviously more assumptions here, or at least good assumptions in the favor of him having one, since he's such a high up. And they obviously want the best of the best for $1 billion.
Well, it would actually be more dependent on who the target audience is. If you're writing for people who are film nerds like Kali, yeah, you probably want someone who knows what the fuck they're doing. If you're writing to someone like, I don't know, some fucking under the age of 12, I've barely seen any shows sort of kid, then you don't really need anything that crazy.
Well, I would actually argue against that, because what is happening with Dragon Ball Super is they are incorporating a lot of fan service. Okay, so like you have Future Trunks, all that bullshit coming back. There's a Goku Black, which is like an old 2009 level fan creation. Broly coming back as Kale. Now they're actually bringing Broly back. A lot of this is fan service for older fans, and most of the demographic for these fans were like early 2000s. And obviously, if they're like 12 years old when they were watching it back in the day, most of these people are a lot older, which would make sense why they're focusing more on narrative now and why they're trying their best to actually explain it. Now, that doesn't stop kids from watching it. Kids will always be attracted to like really bright, colorful animes, and will probably be the majority of an audience, even if unintentionally, just because kids are more attracted to anime than like adults. However, it does seem to be targeted more at the old school audience of Dragon Ball fans, kind of like how current TFS is structured. How current TFS is kind of like edging out a little bit more, because obviously its fans from 2010 are a lot older than they were when Goku was screaming Muffin Button or something like that. So no, it is trying to focus a lot more on that. And I actually think there was a statement. Once again, this is just more like entertaining the idea, because these interviews are hard to find, but I do actually think there was a statement that they are trying to focus on the older fandom. So.
Well, I'd have to firstly see that. Secondly, I mean, even if I were to agree to that, The issue is I already made the distinction of comparing film nerds to people who don't know much about writing.
We'll prove he doesn't know much about writing.
I'm saying if they are professional screenwriters,
Yeah,
that doesn't mean they have to exercise their.
He's the
Yeah, they don't have to
head writer of a
exercise their
billion-plus
understanding of
dollar-
narrative.
a $1 billion+ corporation, and yes, he is
Oh,
incorporated.
Goosebumps is worth more. Would you say Goosebumps is the pinnacle of writing? Like, I don't know, it's a weird appeal to money.
Well, it is a weird appeal to money, but this is an ongoing series where they need to hire numerous writers to constantly keep up the flow of Dragon Ball. So no, I do feel like they do have to keep up a good position in that case. And obviously, some movies,
yeah, but a
some
good
movies
position
get off
doesn't
proportion.
necessarily buttress the idea that they're writing for
And
anyone
plus
in such a way to exercise the narrative value.
It was directly stated they were working on the narrative value of the series. So no, I do think they were focusing on it. So I don't see why they would hire.
I don't see why you. Yeah, no. I'm not saying they're hiring shit people at writing. That wasn't my claim. I'm saying there's no reason to actually believe that they're going ahead and they're making a fucking masterpiece, even if they have capable writers.
Okay, so we're gonna go back and forth on this forever. So let's go back to like the basis of this, which is GT versus Super, right? Do you agree, at least, that Super's writing quality obviously has more effort put into it than GT's, at least from what we've heard from these directors and shit?
You've given me no direct sources for me to believe that. You keep telling me you think and not that you know, and you keep telling me you're entertaining the idea. So I don't see why I would.
Let me look up some stuff then, because obviously this debate was out of the blue, so I have to look this up, but let me find it.
Also, you know when I'm saying appeal to academic authority, I mean like they have published work on the matter, or they have some thorough understanding.
I know what you
of this.
mean. Like with
Yeah.
Basically, it was GHC giving like a philosophical definition or something, and like he was like, "Oh, I'm a PhD, so I should be able to describe what this is supposed to be saying or something."
Yeah, like I said, GHC is just a walking, talking appeal to authority. He's not actually that special.
Yeah. Hold on.
So I don't know. As far as exploitable weaknesses go, I mean, it's like you're the Iceman and you're like considering how to beat Superman. You're like, oh, he's vulnerable to kryptonite. Well, you're not made of kryptonite, so. And that's what you want me to say.
Hold on, I didn't hear what you said. Can you repeat that?
I said it's like if you were Iceman and you were considering how to beat Superman. And so we both agree Superman's weak to kryptonite. That's true, but that doesn't mean it's an exploitable weakness for Iceman, or in this case, you.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't disagreeing with you on the academic thing. We dropped that away.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm making sure because yeah, in that case, then we have to look at other stuff.
Okay, I mean, if you want to drop the academic point, that's not really that important because I'm not really using it as the main point here. It's more like a supporting point to my other premise that basically the main premise here is that Super just has overall way more writing quality and good things about it than GT, at least just from an easy to digest system, because Destiny doesn't really seem to know that much about GT at all. He literally just ran into, I will argue, Vegeta and GT has great character development compared to whatever you want or something. And obviously,
he originally said on the stream where Ask Yourself brought you up. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could talk about the writing quality of GT. I think that's controversial.
Right.
That's almost verbatim what he said. So he
we're-
just wanted to talk to you about the writing quality, not just Vegeta's characterization.
Where was Vegeta brought up in then? Why do I have Vegeta in my head? Did you bring
I
up
have
Vegeta
no idea.
then?
I've brought up Vegeta before to talk to you about how you could beat Destiny in that
Okay,
debate.
yeah, that's where I'm getting that from then. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought Destiny said that this whole time, and you were letting me go. I was like, oh, okay, I guess he really said that. All right, so if you just said GT's writing quality, then it would have to be in comparison to something, and I think obviously it would evolve into GT.
Probably Super.
Yeah, it'd
or
be
Z.
GT versus like other Dragon Ball aspects that people would consider good or normal, right? That's what would be debated. So I think it would still be a similar argument. I don't think it would change much regardless of Vegeta or not. Obviously, like, Goku's character doesn't evolve in GT. It's very flat, blah, blah, blah. There's numerous things about it. It just wouldn't go in Destiny's favor. Now, I kind of find this a weird side point from both of us anyway. Because you originally said, well, I would just prove that who would win in a debate. So it's like I don't see any real reasoning Destiny would beat me on a GT versus Super topic. I don't think there's been. It's mainly been just you on the defense on this point. I would rather just go back to the point that he clearly has a lot more anti-feats than I do. And
this was originally invoked as a result of you going ahead and talking about whether he had exploitable weaknesses. So he went down the route of appeal to authorities.
So right now we're trying to digest if we could use that in a debate. But
so you had to explain to me like whether you had any way to go ahead and exploit his weakness, and we've come to the conclusion you have not.
What I'm trying to say now is that I don't need it for one. And I don't think
so we can just look at you. Yeah, we can look at both of you holistically.
I don't think there's any counter evidence to the point that he would ever beat me on GT versus Super in narrative.
Well, firstly, you haven't really talked about narrative stuff. Like if it was like Kali.
Yes, I have.
Okay, can you name me 10 times you have?
What do you mean 10 times I have? Like,
can you name me 10 times you talked about?
In a video on
just
a blog?
10 times.
10 times?
Yeah, just 10 times. Yeah. You're taking a minute, so I'm assuming you don't.
Okay, so do you want me to just name every time I've ever talked about Dragon Ball Super narrative, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the narrative value in comparison to that of GTs.
I think if you asked me to say, when's the last 10 times you thought about anything, it would take a second. It's just a weird question to ask. So let's just go over it.
So you don't have it, then, is what I'm hearing.
No, I literally just said if you ask me that for almost anything, it would take a second.
I can tell you the name of the last 10 people I debated. I can tell you the name of the last 10 people I fucking debated on. Let's think of something.
I couldn't. I actually
Pringles versus Doritos.
I could not tell you the last 10 people I debated. Actually, that's a really funny comparison. Now that you think about it, I guess because you pay attention to these things more than I do is the point. I mean, like.
Well, I'd assume since this is technically your career that you'd at least have some idea
of like how many people I've debated.
Well, of the last 10 people you've debated at any given moment.
Like when I'm in calls with like hundreds of people or something, like why would I remember every single person I debated? There's literally people that come back in the. I'm uploading that debate, by the way, the whole little stream of that. It's the Broly versus Gogeta thing, where people will come back on stream and I forget who they are. Like that, literally when they come back like an hour or two later.
Okay, here, I'll make it a little bit easier for you. Can you name 5, even though you've taken about a minute and a half now to try and like think of one?
Well, I haven't even been thinking about it because I've just been arguing with you. But yeah, I can give you a few instances. So I discussed it with Solus. I discussed Goku Black versus like Light Yagami. I talked with Aaron Woodland.
Taking a minute.
Aaron Woodland on Goku Black versus like Light Yagami, and then Topo. And then I had to discuss with Gabby and AJ about, like, what was it, like, animation quality and narrative? Because it was, like, the weird go-on punch thing that happened. I had to talk to Quinn and MJ about Goku versus Vegeta's character development in the Tournament of Power. And then number 5 would be you. Does that work?
Okay, here's the issue, though. I asked you specifically with regards to Super versus GT.
Okay, well, nobody's obviously done that, really. No one's done that.
You haven't talked about it with anybody?
But that's not important. I don't see why that's a strong point.
Because you don't have a topic advantage.
Of course I do.
Well, if we talk about capitalism versus feudalism, and then you go, well, I'm talking about feudalism versus socialism, well, you don't have a topic advantage.
No, you're misunderstanding. How many times have you seen Destiny debate about GT?
0, but also for you, 0. You claim to have a topic advantage.
Okay.
Did you not?
So let's now go into more detail about what this means.
Wait, real quick, did you not? Did you not have a topic advantage?
No.
Yes or no?
I do have a topic advantage, and that's what I'm trying to describe.
Can you name me 5 times you've talked about GT versus Super in terms of narrative value?
You are being assertive on a non-point. This is a non-point. This doesn't mean anything, because I'm about to explain why it doesn't mean anything. So, do you
agree you do not have a topic advantage?
You are being assertive on a non-point. This doesn't mean anything.
Saying it's a non-point isn't an argument. I'm waiting to hear one.
I'm going to explain why. Let me explain why. Okay?
Go ahead.
Why it's a non-point is because, say Destiny has 0 GT debate knowledge, because he streams pretty much all of his debates. Pretty much everything he's like discussing, training about, learning about.
He's talked about GT before, actually.
He talks about it on stream, right? He talks about pretty much all
I can even name you the specific instance, or he can't name you one.
He talks about it on stream.
Yeah.
With me, on the other hand, okay, I've actually debated Super's narrative numerous times. okay? I just don't record everything I do like Destiny does. So if you want to be disingenuous, sure, you could say, no, I haven't seen the proof of it. Seth's never done it. I can show you conversations of me talking about it. You want to see a few conversations? I think I have.
Ooh, that's a misrepresentation. You're arguing a point I didn't even make.
What argument did you not make?
I asked if you had a topic advantage on Super versus GT.
Yeah, and I do, because I've actually debated Super's narrative.
And so my follow-up question was, have you compared Super and GT's narrative values?
That's not relevant.
It's not relevant to talk about the topic you're speaking on?
Look, it's not relevant because what I'm saying is that
Seth, we've talked about Seth versus Destiny before. That means I'm qualified to talk on Seth versus Medicare.
Trini, you're not understanding. You're asserting these weird non-points. Let me explain why, okay? So basically what's happening is Destiny has displayed zero knowledge of GT that would be that advanced.
Already incorrect. Look, premise is incorrect. He's talked about it on the Harry Potter videos.
So what advanced information has he displayed?
Whoa, you said he hasn't talked about it anymore.
No,
Don't say advanced information now.
Advanced information. No, that's exactly.
Now you're saying
that's exactly what I said.
You said that a moment ago.
It's literally recorded. It's literally recorded. Go back on your recording.
It's literally recorded when we were talking of whether Destiny has talked about it or not.
I just said advanced information because obviously.
So you've said advanced information the whole time.
Yes.
No, you have not. Incorrect.
No, I literally just said that. I just said advanced information.
You just said it
before you cut me off.
You just said it.
You just cut me off when I said advanced information.
You just said it.
You didn't say that.
Because you're adding a new qualifier. You're adding a new qualifier.
No, because you're misunderstanding what I'm trying to say about this.
I'm misunderstanding your usage of largely
you are stopping the conversation from flowing. The conversation isn't going in anybody's favor when you do this. It's not doing anything. You're just talking.
Well, I'm asking you. Wait, I'm asking you.
No, you are not.
I'm asking you. Wait, I'm asking you.
You are not asking me.
Or are you saying advanced
information
the whole time? Can you tell me what a sophist is, please?
Yeah, you're arguing fallaciously. You're trying to.
No, that's not what a sophist is. That will be your 7th incorrect claim.
Hold on. Okay, you want to go definition of a sophist? Hold on. Definition of a sophist. A person who reasons with clever but fallacious arguments, which is what I just said you were doing.
Oh, wait, no, wait. So where did you use the word clever in there?
Okay, do you want me to say you're clever, you're cleverly being fallacious?
Yeah, you can if you want, but that would just mean you don't know the definition.
You know what's ironic about this is that this is also a sophist argument. So that's another L.
You're literally asking you the definition.
Yes, you are using sophistry to get out of a sophist definition.
Wait, can I?
It's literally a red herring. It's literally a red herring.
Okay, we'll go back to the point then.
Okay.
Do you have a topic advantage? Yes or no? And
yes,
if so, why?
So we'll go back to where we were right before you tried the sophist argumentation of derail the conversation.
Oh, I used the sophist argumentation.
Yes,
you don't even know the actual definition of sophistry.
I gave you the definition. Did everyone heard me give you the definition?
One who argues fallaciously is the same thing as one who uses clever but fallacious arguments.
Are you literally saying that I misdefined it because I didn't say clever? Is that your fucking argument?
Yes,
is that where you're stupid,
caveat.
Excuse me, Seth. You didn't say it was clever argumentation.
What's the difference between a normal person and Sam Harris? Can you tell me or no?
That's not important.
Wait, it's an argument from an analogy.
Hey,
are they
both people?
No. I'm asking. Do you know the difference? Can you? Yeah. Can you tell me what's the difference?
The difference? They're both people. There isn't barely no difference.
The difference is they're both people? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, there you go.
The difference is they're both people. You know what? I got you. That was a good one.
Your main argument is you didn't say clever, though, so invalid. That's the most retarded argumentation I've ever heard. Your argument is invalid
super retarded because you don't know what a sophist is.
You said the same thing, except it didn't say clever. Wow, debugged.
Wait, do you know why that is an important caveat? Yes or no?
Not
That's
the question. Because I literally said
why is it not?
No, because I literally said right after that, sure, dude, you were doing it cleverly. Lel, can we continue? That's exactly what I said.
Okay.
That's literally what I said.
Wait, no. You didn't know the definition.
I did know the fucking definition.
So you use the word cleverly.
Why do I need to use the word cleverly?
You don't know the difference between someone who's just inherently fallacious and what a sophist is? I can tell you.
Okay, so a sophist is just doing it intentionally. I'm obviously describing it in a far more lax term. Okay, so I was using
No,
a far
the
more
difference-
colloquial definition. I'm sorry.
If you're
for using
being,
colloquial
yeah, if you're being
definition.
if you're being lackadaisical, that's okay. The issue
That's
is
exactly what
it's-
happened, and then you're being assertive to be a sophist.
Oh,
That's exactly
my
what I
gosh.
said.
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
being a
Appeal to
sophist.
sophistry.
Because that's
Appeal
what
to
you're doing,
sophistry.
because you're trying to pull off the conversation from the GT argument. I asked for advanced
No,
information.
your
No,
response
how about this?
to me
How about this
was
then?
asking you to
Stop
go
being a
ahead and
sophist.
say what you
Okay,
said.
then stop
Wait,
being a
can you tell me-
sophist.
Can you tell me?
Go-
Okay,
let's go
okay.
back
Then
to
why
the-
didn't you use the
this
word
is-
advanced information
Hold on.
originally?
Yeah, let's go to advanced information because I'm going to
Yeah, I'd
display-
back off that point
My-
if I were you, because you don't know the definition.
No, because this is a red herring. This is just me falling for
Oh
the
yeah, it's
sophistry.
totally a red herring. You literally brought up the word sophist.
How about this? How is us debating about the definition of sophistry relevant to me versus Destiny?
Did you or did you not bring up sophistry?
I did, because you kept trying to bring
Ah,
up. Yes, I did.
so
Because
you made the topic change.
I brought up
Ooh.
sophistry to
Ooh,
keep it
okay.
on point. I brought it up to keep it on point. My
So
intention.
how is
no,
me being a
my
sophist
intention,
changing
my
whether Destiny is
intention
better or
of
worse
bringing
than
up
you?
sophist? You know why I brought up
Is
sophist?
me being a sophist changing whether you were better than Destiny? That changes that?
No, it's changing the argument. So the reason it changes the argument. Yes, exactly. So once again, you're going on a red herring because you're not trying to let me explain my reasoning. So you're not letting me
I'm
explain
letting you
my...
explain right now. I was just quiet. Go ahead.
So the reason I said you are being a sophist is not to derail the conversation into let's debate why you're a sophist. It's to kind of influence you to go back on track and to call you out for purposely derailing the conversation to get away from this advanced point. And the reason, you gotta let me finish. You have to let me finish. You have to let me finish.
I'll let you finish.
You keep interrupting me on these weird non-points and then going on to your sophistry, okay? So the reason that I cut you off with the sophist thing is because you tried to derail to advanced information. I am allowed to clarify my argument if I want to. I am always allowed to clarify my argument. That is obviously something I'm always allowed to do, so I was simply clarifying because you misheard me, because at that particular instance, I did directly ask for advanced information. And then you're like, excuse me, you never said advanced. And I was like, that's sophistry. You're clearly trying to derail the conversation into whether or not I actually said that, when that is what I was intending with my argument. So no, I was clarifying that was my argument. So yes, anything.
God damn, you're still talking? Come on, dude.
Because yes, you keep interrupting me this whole argument.
I didn't interrupt you that whole time. You're still fucking rambling.
That was the
You're
first
still
time.
rambling.
Because
No,
I
did not interrupt you the whole time.
Good, so you accept that because I'm being coherent.
You
with my
could have
argument.
summarized that entire point within a fucking 10-second argument.
Good, so you accept that that was a sophist argument, and we're going back. Where's the advanced information?
I accept that it's a sophist argument. Okay.
Yeah, where is
did
the
you or
advanced
did you
argument?
not say?
Where
did
is
you or
the
did you?
advanced
No.
And then
Because I
here we
see
go
what
again.
You're trying to
Here
shift
we
the
go again.
goalposts.
Here we
Wait, because you're shifting the goalposts.
When did I shift the goalposts, Trini?
No.
When
You
did I
gotta move it.
shift? When did I shift?
You did not say advanced information when we were
here
talking
go
about
again.
topic.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
I literally clarified I wanted advanced information because it follows up to my next point. The fact
Your
that
clarification is a movement of the goalpost.
You're not even trying to figure out why I wanted advanced information. You're not trying to figure out why I'm trying to clarify that position.
Because you are asking something that is disanalogous to your original claim.
You are being
You
dishonest.
asked something.
What was my
disanalogous
original
to
claim?
your
What was my
claim.
original claim?
Your original claim is that you had a topic advantage. So I go,
yes,
yeah, okay,
I do.
why do you have a topic advantage?
Yeah.
And so you start talking about authorial intent. That has nothing to do with whether or not he has advanced information.
Okay, that's
right.
No, the authorial.
Wait, right?
No,
right?
No,
yes or no? Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, actually, no.
I like how you were agreeing up until you realized I fucked you up. Yeah.
No, because we already had this discussion about academic data. We already had this conversation, and then I explained that no, it wasn't about whether or not I would make him like instant concede with my authorial intent. It was more so that I had more advanced information or more information going for me, and that I also had authorial intent also supporting my position. I clarified very clearly that the authorial intent was a supporting argument to the main argument. I've already blatantly said this numerous times. So everything you said about that was completely wrong. That was a total waste of my fucking time.
Wait, so
And
your new padded claim is that you are actually okay with adding on advanced information?
That was not an added claim.
Can you tell me specifically when you said...
No, because this is a new argument. This is new. So I already went back and forth with you on authorial intent.
So it is a new argument. So you dropped your earlier points.
No, that is not me. You literally just clarified what you thought my earlier points were, and that was nothing a part of it. That was not a part of it.
Multiple times. Yes, it was.
Because we've been on
where
this
did
one
we start
point the whole time.
About, no. Where did we start talking about GT versus Super? Can you tell me?
Okay,
I can't remember the last 10 people I debated.
We started talking about the actual details of why I would win GT versus Super and why I had more knowledge on Super than GT right when I said, show me more advanced topics from Destiny being discussed.
No, that is not how we got there.
Literally what happened. It's recorded.
No. Do you remember the very specific part?
You're definitely going to embarrass yourself.
Yeah, so tell me, why did we go down this point? How did we go down this point?
Because you're a sophist and you can't fucking argue.
How did we go down this point from ask yourself?
Yes, when you start getting clapped.
How did we go down this point from Avi?
You change the subject.
How did we go down?
Yeah, you just keep changing the subject because you're getting fucking raped. Yeah,
I'm asking you. Yeah, I'm asking. Wait, you can't tell me? You can't tell me?
You're getting raped.
No,
you know what? You can't tell me?
Scream louder, pussy.
I've been asking for advanced information for the past, like, 20 minutes. You just started asking for this now.
So you used the word advanced
by your logic, you've been ducking me this whole time. By your own fucking logic.
When did I say the word ducking? Where did I say the word ducking?
By your own logic, you are running away from me.
When did I say the word ducking?
You're getting raped, Trini. Prove
you're getting
raped. What's up? Where's your argument for advanced information? Where's the advanced information?
Okay, come on, tell me. Wait, tell me, buddy. Come on, tell me.
I asked you a question. I asked you a question. Where's the advanced information?
I've been asking you the last couple of minutes.
I asked you before.
I asked you before.
No, okay, so now he's blatantly disregarding the entire conference. Do you concede? Do you yield the actual debate? Are you, like, yielding
you're conceding now? You're the first person to bring up concessions. Sounds like you're ready to leave.
Okay, so now he's resorting to trolling. He gave up the actual argument. This is childish. This is exactly what happened.
Okay, so tell me, how did we get to Destiny?
We got to
Destiny
this
and GT from Ask Yourself.
Yes.
Can you tell me?
We got to this point because you said, in my personal opinion, Seth, I think a debater is better.
I used the words "in my personal opinion."
I was obviously, like, just making fun of you.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. Yeah,
I was making fun of you because that's how fucking pompous and stupid it sounded. Okay.
Yeah, that's how pompous and stupid it sounded. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I think a better debater is determined by who I personally think would win if they were to debate. That is exactly what you said after I.
Oh, that's exactly what I said now. Wait, is that what exactly I said now? Yes or no?
You're literally taking everything hyper literally.
What is the word exactly mean? Then don't use the word exactly.
What I meant is that that's the exact point you were trying to make. Okay, the exact
points
you were trying to make.
That was about it. I'll give you that one. Sure.
Okay,
so
sure.
What do you want to talk about now?
Because this is after you ran away from 2 of my arguments for your sophist argumentation. Where are we now,
okay,
Trini?
which argument did I run away from? Which arguments did I run away from? Can you tell me?
Advanced information and the fact that I have better feats than Destiny right now.
Okay, hold on a second.
You ran away
We're gonna move right back. We're gonna move right back.
Let's go to it.
So, are you changing your argument to advanced information now?
I never changed it.
You said that the whole time.
No,
you said that since the very beginning of this part of the conversation.
No.
Oh, you did not.
No.
Okay, so then why are you adding that now?
Because it's a new argument that I made because we're now talking. Listen, Trini, we had a logical conclusion, right? After the whole authorial
it's a new argument. That's what I thought. Okay.
Okay, I understand where you're being confused. I never said I want advanced GT information from Destiny from the very beginning of the argument because obviously my first arguments had nothing to do with whether or not Destiny could beat me in a debate.
No, that's also incorrect.
No, that's not true because it was about whether or not I had better feats than Destiny, right? It wasn't about.
I even specified whether you said that at the beginning of this part of the conversation.
The very beginning of our debate was about whether or not I had better feats, and it was talking about Destiny's anti-feats. So no, I literally just brought up GT
we started talking about G.
Hold on, no, Trini, no, let me finish. The first time, hold on, Trini, no, okay. Quote me the first time I ever asked you about information from GT. When was the first time?
You said it as soon as we started asking, but you did not say advanced information.
When did I ever ask you from GT like that he had?
Okay, you did not ask for GT.
What do you mean I didn't ask for GT?
Like, you didn't ask for whether he had advanced information on GT.
Okay, so yeah, you clarified there. Okay, so
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about that, and you're like, well, Seth, no, he has talked about GT. I was like, oh, okay. So then I was like, but has he talked about any advanced information from GT? Because I was going to then clarify that I had far more dealings with advanced super information, which is publicly renowned for having far better and more articulated writing. So I was going to make the clarification.
I wouldn't call it exactly renowned.
So like I would have far more like ammo here than Destiny, and I also have far more experience in the field, and I honestly think that I have better rhetorical and adaptation than Destiny does, and I also have a lot of experience.
There we go. Okay, we're getting down the right area. Okay, go ahead.
I also have a lot more experience with GT. Well, maybe not. That's hard to quantify, but I also have a lot of experience with GT, whereas Destiny probably doesn't have much information with Super. Do you have anything about, advanced GT information and any Super information that he's talked about?
Yeah, he starts breaking down the narrative of GT in his Harry Potter video, okay?
Okay. So what does he break
And he breaks down mostly the world building.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that, or no?
So let's go over what he said. Yeah, let's go over what he said.
Yeah, and keep in mind, this isn't just a quick couple of minutes, right? I think it's like at most 2, because the argument was about Harry Potter, and he makes an analogy.
Okay,
he basically
that's
said,
not very strong then, yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so he breaks it down. And keep in mind, he has the ability to talk about narrative value. He's done it multiple times before.
Okay.
Specifically with regards to the world building, he starts talking about, essentially, GT goes ahead and builds upon, for example, the Saiyan race, and how they dealt with the Tuffles, and how there's historical precedent for them dealing with the Tuffles, and how Baby is basically the conclusion of that historical, period.
Okay.
And that's what he largely talks about.
Okay.
Yeah, that's basically it.
That's not a very advanced argument. That just sounds like he's giving a synopsis of GT. I feel like anybody could give that a synopsis of GT. Actually,
wait
a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on. What's the plot of the Baby arc? Oh, a Tuffle scientist named Dr. Raichi got really upset that the Saiyans killed his people. I'm giving just like as basic as possible for an example. He got mad the Saiyans killed his people, so he wanted revenge against Goku, who is now the strongest Saiyan, so he could rebuild the planet Tuffle, right? All Destiny did was just add some slightly edgier wording to what that was. And it was the most basic synopsis I could have heard. And civilizational conclusion and the end of an era is the same thing as a synopsis? The end of an
era?
You show me what do you mean by the end of an era? Explain
that. The complete end of the Tuffles. That's the end of an era.
Wait,
and it was their last fighting chance. Yeah,
we already knew that though. That's not good writing though. That happened all throughout Dragon Ball Z. Goku versus
the end of the Tuffles happened all throughout Z?
Goku versus Frieza was the end of an era as well. That was what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So no, I don't find that a very constructive or advanced point. It's very basic Dragon Ball knowledge.
Yeah. So world building mostly deals with historical relationships, right?
Yeah,
and it mostly deals with how you overview things like civilizations.
Yeah. So I'm not trying we had that screaming match, but right now I'm trying to get this more done with. But
can't rape me, unfortunately. Yeah, gotta work a little bit harder, buddy.
Hey, I was raping earlier, man. You were running from that point. You were running pretty hard.
Yeah. It was more like you tried to wrestle me down. You got caught with a flying knee, but I mean, whatever, right?
No, you were definitely trying to run around the point. I saw you, boy.
Yeah. Don't worry. If you think that, that's okay. But we'll finish this argument. So go ahead.
Hold on. The point I was making is okay, so that was basic GT knowledge, and then I was just going to clarify that I definitely do not actually think that 2 minutes of talking about a basic point in Dragon Ball GT gives him any advanced argumentation or any knowledge on GT. So if we're just debating empirically what would happen with this debate, obviously I have more reasonings to understand all of these concepts. I've also had advanced debates about Dragon Ball Z's narrative, which is directly connected to GT, which is GT's a direct extension of Z, and he would obviously have to connect
Here,
to
I'll
Z.
you know what, I will concede this entire point here if you can tell me what Vegeta's character arc was throughout all of Dragon Ball.
Like, as what? Like, what do you mean as a character arc? Like,
A character arc is self-explanatory as a term. That's like a pretty simple idea of narrative.
you mean like as his development of turning into like an Earthling? Because that's
if
like,
you want, you can look up character arc and you can tell me.
it would basically just be him turning
Although if
into
you
an
have to look
Earthling
up
over
character
time.
arc, then I wouldn't exactly say you have advanced information.
Well, that's basically all Vegeta's character arc was him eventually transforming into an Earthling. That was pretty much all that happened. Yeah. It was.
Yikes!
That's even described in the video games, actually.
It sounds like are not going to talk about his moral plight at all.
Whose moral what?
Moral plight. Plight.
Sure. What do you think? What do you think his is?
I'm asking you. Come on, you told me you had advanced information. I'm just checking.
Okay, so let's explain the moral plight and consider it to a story, right? Like, what is the importance of it?
A moral plight is generally when you go ahead and you see the development of a character morally and how exactly this impacts them and the rest of the narrative, and normally their social relationships. That's what you're generally looking at.
Okay, so yeah, I understand, obviously, that context for developing a character. Maybe moral blight, I just didn't understand that terminology, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, I already knew everything. I probably know more about Z than Destiny knows by a long shot, so of course I would know Vegeta's moral plight more than he would.
Well, I think you know Z and Super and GT better in terms of the actual specific details. I'm not so certain how much you know more in terms of just narrative valuation.
Just because I don't know like specific terminology doesn't mean like I don't understand how these work. Obviously,
Can you tell me what his moral developments are then?
His moral developments, so like how he's developed in terms of like how he would react to certain situations, because he's actually been extremely inconsistent depending on like who's surrounding him as a character. Is that a good enough answer? So like for instance, like he'll be on the good guy's side if there's obviously an extra villain to kind of threaten his pride as a Saiyan. So for instance, the Ginyu Force shows up and now he's willing to team up with the Earthlings. Cell is a big bad guy that threatens the Super Saiyan, so he's willing to shoot him in the back to save his enemy's son or whatever. He's also...
Hello? Oh, I'm sorry, I fucking cut out again. Go ahead.
Okay, so where did you cut out?
I cut out at when you were saying, yeah, I get the general idea of his like moral development, and you started talking, and then it cut out.
Okay, so how he's developed morally, right?
The
weird part about Vegeta is that he's always kind of somewhat had similar morals, except he just like slightly tones down later on. But his morals were like his morals were kind of inconsistent depending on his company, if that makes sense. And this was the same thing with Goku, actually. Goku would be a super moral fag when he's by himself or with the Earthlings, but then suddenly when he's with Vegeta, he's willing to sacrifice everyone's lives so that he could prove himself as a Saiyan. But that's only when Vegeta's around. And it's the same thing with Vegeta. Like Vegeta's morals will flux depending on who he's around, but it's more so depending on like his villainous company. So like for instance, he's willing to team up with the Earthlings that he was trying to kill like moments earlier just so that he could stand a chance against the Ginyu Force, or so he could stand a chance against Frieza. But he's willing to kill anybody that didn't matter at the time. And then later on he becomes more of a neutral force after I think the Cell games, but even then it wasn't more so a neutral force because he didn't want to be one, so that's why he went Majin and started killing people. And then it was Goku that turned him around, befriended him, and like they kind of came to this mutual understanding that they only mattered as like Saiyan warriors. So their morality was only mattered to fight stronger opponents to prove themselves. That was pretty much
the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time.
Are you including Super or no?
Well, Super like isn't really a moral extension to that. Like we do learn later on like that Vegeta needs to learn better teamwork. But that's not really morals. But he does learn later on that like his pride as a Saiyan is actually being a detriment to those he does love, which is kind of why he puts like all his pride on the line versus say Topo and is willing to give all these things up. And it's kind of shown with the final explosion as well. I think he deafened himself. Rip.
Yo, my bad. I'm back.
Yeah, I saw you definitely.
All right, bet. I'd actually have to. Yeah.
What-
I heard the last thing you say was that he went ahead and he teamed up with like basically the fucking Earthlings to go ahead and combat Frieza's forces and Frieza himself.
That's all you heard?
Yeah, there was this fucking car that like was right near me and it almost splashed water on me, so I had to I'd have that FTL dodge, dude.
Okay, so I definitely have to explain a lot more because there's more to it. But fuck. All right, because I was thinking about Super, so I have to go back. Okay, so did you hear the inconsistent moral natures of the Saiyans?
Are you talking about with regards to who they're around, who they're surrounded by?
Yeah, like,
I heard that.
Did you hear the Goku part too?
Yeah.
Okay, so we heard the Goku part. And obviously Vegeta's willing to put his pride on the line and his morals behind to save other people, if it means saving his own pride, at least in the Android arc. And during the Cell arc, obviously he's trying to regress back into what he was during the Saiyan saga, which is why he starts killing random people for no reason. And then obviously Goku brings him to his side, and their moral compass kind of turns into, we won't kill people unnecessarily or hopefully at all. We'll protect who we can, but we're going to test our limits as Saiyans whenever we can, even if it's putting people's lives on the line. And that was generally what happened at the end. Then during Dragon Ball Super, we learned that he still values his family, and that he should value his family in the Universe 6 or his Saiyan race more than he should value his own Saiyan pride. And then we learn later on that Goku's philosophy or moral philosophy of always rely on your teammates or use them for help or something always was better than Vegeta's standalone Saiyan pride when it came to dealing with these fights and matters. So that's basically the most basic way I can explain it, but yeah.
That's not incorrect necessarily, but
that was just my basic overview.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if Destiny was questioned some particular aspect, I mean, I could probably go into more detail, but it's kind of hard overviewing a whole series in a minute or two. It's just weird.
Yeah. So would you say there's a particular theme to the Boo arc?
Yeah, I've actually I was debating with Quaman on I think I told you this before, but it was on Boo versus Cell as a villain. And Boo's I don't know if meta narrative is the right word, but there was some kind of weird narrative going on where he was a wicked force of nature, and the Z fighter, he was a moralless wicked force of nature, whereas all the Z fighters, humanity, they were these moral agents. And Boo was corrupted by the darkness of mankind. It was stated in numerous interviews, whereas humanity is trying to bring out the light of humanity in Boo, because Boo only understands the evils of mankind. And so the moral agents, obviously exaggerated as the Spirit Bomb, take over the feral moralist Kid Boo, who's corrupted by this darkness. And it's kind of a weird moral ending to the Boo arc. It's really strange, but that is actually what was going on.
Now, do you know how to connect this to Vegeta or no?
Vegeta's moral agency?
Yeah, throughout the Boo arc.
Vegeta's moral agency has always been he wasn't really that connected to Boo, but there obviously was the fact that Boo was considered obviously evil incarnate, and then Vegeta becomes a Destruction King, and he's kind of delving into that territory. It gives him great power, but then after, obviously, he understands Goku's philosophy, which was I talked about earlier. He learns that it is the superior way to deal with things, and this is also brought out with Vegito and the moral agency of doing the right thing to save other people.
Yeah, so the issue with that, though, is, well, I get what you're saying. The problem is that Vegeta goes ahead, and he's not just connected to Boo in terms of becoming evil.
A Destruction King, yeah.
Yeah, a Destruction King, as you put it, right?
That was just the main thing, yeah. But
well, do you want to look at it on more of a meta level before I continue, so it's not like I'm strawmanning you?
Sure. How about you just give me what you think it is, because you're clearly trying to insert your opinion here. I've been going on for a while. So what do you think it is?
Yeah, so do you think there's some how do I put this without giving you the answer? Do you think yeah, this is the best thing, because if you fuck up, then it's just a matter of, okay, he has semi-advanced information.
Okay.
Yeah. So Do you think that Vegeta is in any way representative of the entire theme? Yes or no?
The entire theme of the Boo arc?
Yeah.
Let me
His character arc specifically.
His character arc represented by Boo. I have to think about the whole arc and sequence real quick.
Go for it.
Yeah. I'm noticing a more of a connection with Destruction King Vegeta and Fat Boo right now. It's kind of vague, and I'm thinking about his connection because after that he's like gone for pretty much the whole arc. I actually do think the theme kind of connects to Vegeta in a lot of ways, actually. Boo,
okay, how?
Boo is kind of okay. So Boo is like this evil incarnation of like morality, because he's absorbed all these evils from all of mankind, blah blah blah. But you could say that like, there's a similar parallel with Vegeta because Vegeta was raised up, always absorbing all these evils from mankind. How he was raised, blah blah blah. Very similar to Kid Boo. And then later on we learn, okay, the reason Fat Boo beats Evil King. Well, Destruction King Vegeta is obviously because of his pride within himself. He's obviously fighting for himself. It's like this weird thing. He's more content with who he is than Vegeta is. And that's why Vegeta is able to destroy him after that with the final explosion, although it doesn't work because of the plot. But from what I can tell, it's just basically Boo is just this evil parallel to Vegeta and what Vegeta kind of is on this abstract level and what he was trying to become deep down. It's a little strange, but I'm trying to figure out how to put this into words. But it's basically just Vegeta absorbing evil moral agency over time, and then trying to revert back to it. Yeah, sorry I can't articulate it very well, but I'm trying. I've never really thought about this strain right here. But yeah, that's generally what I say.
Yeah, keep in mind, Dusty will argue about shit like this. So if you do get into it with him, going based off that Harry Potter video,
I definitely think I could. It would just, especially if like he's giving his arguments, and then I would obviously adapt to how he would counter. I definitely can grasp it. Yeah, for sure. I don't think he has anything that can handle right there.
Yeah. So this is what I describe it as. It's a clash of humanity versus inhumanity.
Yeah. So we had a similar idea. Yeah.
Yes, basically. The way you would connect Vegeta to this is it's him clashing with his own inhumanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically what it is. If you meant it that way, I suppose so.
Yeah, I just didn't really know how to word it. That's kind of what I meant, yeah.
Yeah, because you never, keep in mind, also another thing is he never absorbs evil moral agency. It's constantly like a pendulum. It's going back and forth.
No, I meant okay, so there's an interview. Maybe this is kind of outside material, so I don't know if you use this, but there's an interview where it describes like why the fuck is Boo evil? Like why does he do this shit? And it's basically because he actually absorbs the evils of mankind throughout his eternal life, and it like corrupts him or something. That's what he becomes. So that's why I was making the comparison that this would make more sense because it's kind of similar to how Vegeta kind of absorbed these evils and these teachings from like Frieza and all of these fucked up people like throughout his life, and how he was constantly like kind of indoctrinated into kind of reverting to that, which kind of happened with like Fat Boo and Super Boo on like a different level, but it was kind of similar like in terms of narrative. It's kind of where I was going, but yeah, we definitely had a very similar point when it came to Vegeta versus Boo.
Yeah, I'd actually disagree with using the narrative, or excuse me, using the interview to support this. Also, because I'm like 90% sure that in the actual series, he's just described as like a universal constant almost.
No, that was actually the guide that says that. So yeah, Boo, when Boo first started out, we don't really know much about him, but then he slowly like corrupted more and more, and then that's when he snaps or whatever. And then obviously Boo has a very similar transition to Vegeta, where he's learning like about the goods of Earth life. So
You're talking about Fat Boo?
Yeah, Fat Boo, kind of. Yeah.
Fat Boo absorbed like a Kaido, and those are supposed to be like the angels of the universe. I don't know if that counts.
No, he was still corrupted by evil a lot of the time.
Yeah, he was also dealing with a very similar moral pendulum. The issue is that his comes from literally absorbing an angel, or what is essentially an angel.
Well, the problem is that like the Fat Boo that turns good-ish with like Mr. Satan, he has more evil than good in him, which was actually represented by Evil Boo versus like the Fat Boo. Like that was to represent which side of him was still stronger, and like the Evil Boo just absolutely like molests Fat Boo like no problem. So that was what was being represented. So, like you could say he has some good moral agency within him, but you could also argue the same with like Vegeta. Vegeta still has like his good moments that can kind of come out here or there, and he's still kind of protective. Like versus like Trunks and stuff, he showed flashes of people he cared about, which is very similar to what happened with Boo. Boo only cared about a few people. It was like the dog, Mr. Satan, and stuff. It was very similar, I think. So.
Yeah, the issue though would be that it's not like Boo's dealing with a moral dilemma, much in the same way Vegeta is. It's more so that he literally absorbed an angel, which is what I'm saying. And they do eventually have a conflict, but it's not as moral as you think, because it's like very thoroughly implied, not only about just Fat Boo, but also every Boo with the exclusion of Super, that they're just unintelligent. This is how they think to interact. This is what they think is just like fine. They're just like, as you put it earlier, forces of destruction. They're not exactly moral agents.
Well, yeah, I was never claiming he fully was or wasn't, right? I was just saying that he had similarities to Vegeta on a level.
Yeah.
That's all I was saying.
So then how would you extend all this to Super? Would you say Vegeta's moral arc is in Super?
Okay, now I have to think about this a little bit more. Okay, so how does his moral arc change in Super? At the end of Super, he's still willing to put people's lives in danger for his own selfish Saiyan biology. And this is what kind of happens with his meeting with Kaba, his acceptance of Goku, and kind of like being humbled by the gods, is that he learns and takes more pride in people other than himself. Which is actually like his moral evolution. He starts to worry more about, and that's what pretty much the whole Goku Black arc was for me. It was mainly about Vegeta evolving to actually care about his son Trunks. But you could also argue he cared about no, because actually versus Goku Black, he states that he cares about Goku and all his training and his fellow Saiyans. So no, his moral agency evolves to the point where he cares about protecting people or planets that he respects or likes. And that's basically how he evolves from a very solitude fighter that was kind of having like flashes or pendulums, as you were calling it, to like a full-fledged I'm on this side of the argument now, if that makes sense. And this was mainly done with like Kaba. He was having flashbacks throughout the Tournament of Power. Toppo really exaggerated this as well. Goku defeating Jiren really exaggerated this, and that's what fully transformed Vegeta into a character that wouldn't pendulum anymore, if that makes sense. So basically Super was more so what should have been in between Z and GT when it came to Vegeta's character.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd actually have to say that what's changed about Vegeta is how he values things and what he decides to value.
Well, that's what morals are most of the time, is like basically preferences and like what you do value, right?
Yeah, but it's a very fundamental change.
What do you mean?
I think by the end of the Toppo arc, and you'd probably end up agreeing with this, he ends up learning to not just value his pride on an equal level as other people. He learns to go ahead and pride other people and their protection wholly over himself.
Exactly. And you were just arguing like what's his moral development. So I was just saying, okay, well, if he starts caring about other people, that would be his moral preferences obviously evolving to a more broader scope than just himself. That's what I was arguing.
But he completely eradicates his care for himself is my issue.
You think that's a bad thing?
No. It's not a good or bad thing. I'm just analyzing the character as I see it.
And I don't think he did disregard himself, actually.
He almost killed himself, remember? And he also did it back with Boo. He was willing to kill himself.
No. What happened with that is he self-destructed, but he knew he wouldn't die from it. because he was too strong for the final explosion to kill himself anymore. It was actually later described as, rather than self-destructing, it was a technique that required a ton of stamina or a very durable body. So I don't know how that works, considering it should be amplified, considering your body, but apparently Vegeta just became so strong that the technique just wouldn't do anything to him anymore. And when it comes to valuing himself, it kind of seems like Vegeta values himself more in Super than in GT. And the reason I say that is because, for one, I think it's stated in GT Perfect Files that Vegeta kind of slowed down, kind of slightly gave up his race against Goku. I'm not going to grandstand that because obviously I don't have the scan on hand. But we do know that despite Goku obtaining this power way higher than all of the gods, the one that Whis has been trying to shove into his ass the whole fucking series that he can't do for some reason, the second Goku does it, he's like, no, I want that to be Goku's thing. I want my pride to be what I want it to be. So like his evolution state that he evolves was due to his value of himself. That was the whole point of that. And even after he saw Goku defeat Jiren with Ultra Instinct, he understood why Goku won. He was cheering for Goku, but he still learns to value himself and others, because even at the very end of Super, he says, I'm going to find something other than Ultra Instinct, right? I'm going to beat you without all that bullshit, or you can't use it, like that's pitiful or something. So no, he definitely still values himself extremely, if not just on a far more mature level.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He values himself for an entirely different reason.
Yeah, it's not just like some blind pride anymore. It seems to be like he actually has pride in something, right? That seems to be. It's
basically described as him having something to protect.
Yeah, it seems like he just has more reasons to be prideful, and I think it's just a far more fulfilled pride. I think that's a good evolution. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, basically, the point of all of this is to show that, like, firstly, these kinds of arguments aren't exactly as one-sided as you would think, unless you're talking to someone like Colleen. You're like, I don't know. You're like Ryan D. Beast, maybe?
Yeah.
Or maybe if you're like Chuck as well, because Chuck's also a bit of an asshole and a fucking idiot. But, I mean, regardless, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to kind of, like, understand, like, when it comes to...
You went, yeah.
Hopefully it wouldn't turn into, this is why you should kill yourself. But... Yeah, no, I understand how these definitely work.
It's a lot more leveled than you think it is.
Yeah, no, like I said, I debated that Quaman guy on narrative. It was literally 2 hours long, and I did it like yesterday. So no, I definitely know how it goes. You kind of have to realize it's like a little bit of a subjective area about what's good and bad, and you kind of have to use their own argumentation against them, right? You have to kind of point out like why certain aspects of why they believe something is good is actually bad in their own opinion, which is a little hard to do, because obviously people can just be like robotic, but obviously you can just kind of point out absurdities, and it's kind of a little bit more almost on the audience to kind of point out who is more absurd. A little bit like a weird moral debate, but it's definitely more on the level, so it's hard to be aggressive or assertive.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. And so what I'd then say is it would have to just come down to who has better overall skills, right?
Okay.
Because that's what's going to really show. You won't be able to really have like a fucking like explosive discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I just asked, like, you know, whether you would compare yourself to Medicare in terms of like rhetorical ability, and if so, to basically to what degree?
Rhetorical ability.
Yep.
I would say Mr. Medicare probably has like the best rhetoric out there right now. Honestly, like it probably at the top. I'd
probably be in agreement.
Yeah, I'd say if we were rating it like out of 5 stars,
He's Grand Theft Auto, yeah.
If it was out of 5 stars, I'd be at like a solid like, I don't know, 4.7 through like 8.5 or something. Like that's where probably, or even like a 9, but. It's hard to say, and I definitely would say Destiny's is extremely low, actually. Destiny, I think even Ask Yourself was like roasting Destiny's rhetorical abilities a lot, and it was during the Darth debate once again, because he wasn't really able to like.
I don't know, dude. I don't care for Ask Yourself, because he had a 2-hour conversation with Dawkins, and he like took forever to pull it out.
Okay, so. How about this? Destiny versus Medicare is the ultimate example of why Destiny does not have that great of rhetorical ability. All right, he's a little
No,
bit...
he has good rhetorical ability. It's definitely not on Medicare's level. But
Yeah,
we've seen him like compete with people who have that level.
I think he has good rhetorical ability compared to everyone else. But I'm saying, like, when it comes to the absolute pinnacle or top tier, he was definitely getting bullied. All right, and I don't think there's that big of a discrepancy between me and Mr. Medicare. Obviously, I'd say Mr. Medicare, he's like fucking 40 years old and he's been like roasting people. For, like,
He is not 40. Wait, who told you he was 40?
I heard he was 40 from like a bunch of fucking people. Is he not 40?
That's a me? No. He's
Oh,
like,
shit.
I think he's a little bit older than you. No.
How old is he? Like 25 or 28?
Yeah, like somewhere in that area. Is not like he's not even 30, dude. I don't think.
Okay. Yeah, I'd have to look more into him because I'm not autistic enough to like know everything about everyone I talk to. I don't even know how old Destiny is.
I'm pretty sure it's like fuck. I think Destiny is like almost 30.
Yeah, he's an old ass man. I know that, but because he has like a kid and shit too. But all I was saying is like, yeah, Medicare has probably been online roasting people and shit longer than I have. He's been at it way longer than I really only started like when Google Plus started, and Medicare's been at it obviously since like ancient internet days or something like that. But I don't think
Since like that. No, since before that Gamergate shit even.
Yeah, he's been on there for a fucking while. So I will say that he's more experienced, but I don't think there's like some massive rhetorical gap between me and Mr. Medicare. I think he's just more concise with his bullying, if that makes sense. Like he's very well articulated, but I don't think that his rhetoric is much better than mine, if that makes sense. So
I don't know. His is definitely more tested. He's gone up against basically everybody.
of course, yeah. I never said that mine would be better. So
Yeah, no, I think it's like significantly better though. Is like where my difference in opinion comes in, right?
okay.
And
yeah.
basically, yeah. So the reason I'd say that is because we've seen him go up against more people who were like rhetorically capable.
Like
He's talked to fucking Tonkasaw. He's talked around Jay Dyer. He's talked around Nick Fuentes. He's talked around Destiny pretty easily. He's talked to basically all the big names there are in terms of like basically any sort of debate skill.
okay, so who has he beaten in a debate with pure rhetoric and no knowledge?
Destiny.
Yeah, but that's my problem. I think that's like an anti-feat for Destiny. I don't think. Like I said, like.
Destiny scales off of people like Nick Fuentes though.
Well, like let's say this. Let's talk about
And Naked Ape.
Let's talk about. Oh, don't bring up Naked Ape, dude. Come on.
Dude, Naked Ape's a fucking beast. He's like Aradar, like 30.0.
No, dude.
Yes.
Didn't he get bullied by Destiny?
No, I say he lost to Destiny. Destiny had to fucking rage quit.
Okay, because I know fucking Ask Yourself unironically bodied Naked Ape. That was pretty bad. But
Yeah, but that wasn't Naked Ape how Naked Ape normally debates. If you go watch the conversation with Naked Ape,
if he's going like full autist or something, no, yeah.
watch Crowd T versus Naked Ape if you want to see a Naked Ape fucking certified body bag. That's bad shit, dude.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't.
Ask
know that
Yourself
much
was
about it.
intentionally being super nice to fucking Naked Ape, and I think he knows why. If he started shit talking with Naked Ape would have fucking bodied the fuck out of him. He knows it.
I don't know about that area, but like what I was gonna bring up from there is like obviously we have these current Destiny feats because the Destiny of old, right? Like I even said this before. I'm not too sure who's better between me and Destiny when we first started, but then I was like, but maybe I can make an argument for current Destiny, and that's why I was like, I guess I'll take up your offer because I am arguing current Destiny, right? We're on the same page with that, like the one that debated JHC and all those guys.
Yeah, the issue is he's stepping into new territories. He doesn't talk about shit like this pretty often. Like, you don't really step into new territories. It's like if we got you to start talking to, like, Ryan Dawson about politics.
Well, how about this, right? How about we just compare my first encounter with Darth Dawkins versus Destiny's first encounter with Darth Dawkins? Is that a good one? Because if anything, I should be way less experienced because I'm a new fag when it comes to philosophy. Literally when I started like this actual like moral philosophy or any philosophy, it was pretty much when the vegans started attacking me on Twitter, and it was when we first started talking again. You remember that? And we kind of yeah. That was when I first got into it. So no, this motherfucker Destiny, if he did worse than me rhetorically against Darth Dawkins, who is literally like the gatekeeper of whether you're ass or not at philosophy, right? Then no, I honestly think that I would have better rhetoric. Just blatantly.
Well, no. I'm not saying you have. I think you have better rhetoric than Destiny, but I think that's probably where about like it would stop. No, my thing would be that it depends on what you two debated Darth Dawkins on. What did you debate Darth Dawkins on?
It was his same bullshit. His like presupposition God argument. This is bullshit. The way I argued it was I questioned whether or not the Bible existed. I said my argument was I've never heard of the fucking Bible before. Like, what the fuck are you even talking about? And he couldn't prove that I've seen the Bible ever, because it's not stated in the Bible I've seen the Bible. So basically I argued I've heard of the Jibel, and the Jibel says be wary of those that try to preach about other holy scripts, which are all lies. So basically his presupposition that I knew of the Bible would just be faulty, because he'd be assuming that I knew that the Bible existed. And that was my argument. I mean, it didn't last very long. He muted me in like 2 minutes, but yeah, that was just a pure rhetorical counter to his point as a new fag, right? So
yeah, the issue is that Destiny was arguing specifically against his script, which is what you're not supposed to do.
What do you mean?
Darth Dawkins and the other fellow, Mr. Batman, are notorious for keeping scripts, right? And they both rip off this philosopher named Greg Bonson. And he's an Eastern Orthodox Christian philosopher.
Didn't he debate Matt Dillahunty?
Who? Which one?
Wasn't there like a super Christian that debated Matt Dillahunty at like some church or something? You had like a fish on his laptop?
A lot of them have done it. Yeah, a lot of So I don't know which one.
Matt kind of seems a little bad in that category.
Matt Dillahunty's not a good debater.
Yeah, he definitely was getting shafted by some random Christians.
But I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, they are all a part of this group that essentially keeps a script, and it's a script compiled from a series of lectures by this Greg Bonson fellow. And that's the shit that if you try them on, will be the most difficult. Like if you go along with the script, what you're supposed to do is reject the script.
I think I've heard of Mr. Batman and like Darth like publicly talking about their scripts and like exchanging why one was right or wrong or something like that. So yeah, I'm aware that there is a script for it. But honestly, Destiny, he just didn't seem to know how to react to Darth's argumentation. The reason I say this is because I actually DM'd him after he debated Darth the first time. And I gave him some advice. I'm like, Destiny, no. You need to be more aggressive if you want to win. You need to be like this if you're going to win. You need to dominate. You cannot let Darth dominate you with his script. You need to find a way around it, or you need to find a way to really hammer home your argumentation. So what happened there was, and he saw my argument. He was trying to type to me or whatever, and then he stopped. I saw all of this. And then the next debate, he was far more aggressive. He was clearly trying to win or get around Darth Dawkins. He just really just wanted to say, I have debated Darth Dawkins in this stupid script, and this is why it's circular or whatever. But what I did was far more clever rhetorically. Now, just because I didn't take on his script doesn't mean anything, because what I did was more intelligent, right? If I'm able to explain that what he's doing is circular reasoning by dodging the script and then explaining that I have a Jibel, whereas I've never heard of the Bible, I feel like that is far more rhetorically convincing as to why it's retarded than letting Darth Dawkins kind of yell at you a little bit and kind of get leeway in like a debate beforehand. That's just my opinion, though. And obviously some people will disagree or agree on whether or not that's better rhetorically, but it wasn't like Destiny was intentionally not avoiding the script or something, where it's just that he just didn't really know how to act, because he just doesn't, to be fair, Destiny doesn't have the greatest adaptation mid-debate. He's kind of like someone like, maybe you'll agree with this, but like he'll take an L and then he'll research for some hours like really autistically and then come back and just clap him, right? That's what he does. But someone who kind of does that kind of screams that they just do not really adapt well enough to kind of win most of their debates by understanding it as it happens. Does that make sense? So I feel like when it comes to adaptation and just rhetorical ability, that I do have a big advantage, and I feel like rhetoric and adaptation are very key for a narrative debate. Oh, he left. Okay. F. Hopefully I don't have to explain all that shit again.
Yeah, my bad. I'm back.
Okay. What did you hear?
Yeah, the last part I heard was you basically talking on how you thought he basically autistically researched. So,
Yeah, so like,
real quick.
Okay. You want to let me?
Yeah, he goes ahead and he definitely is more of a research person.
Oh yeah.
And his
then
rhetorical skill is
back,
yeah.
He comes back and claps with his research, yeah. Which is why I was upset when JHC still fucking did that, because he did a lot of research for that, but that made me mad. But regardless, no, I know that he does a lot of research, but the point is that he kind of has shit adaptation before these happen. And I think Darth Dawkins, for what it was worth, was a good example of his bad adaptation. And he kind of had bad adaptation when it came to Ask Yourself as well. And obviously Ask Yourself versus him, Destiny did win. But it kind of came down to some points, like even versus Vegan Gains, where he was like, oh yeah, I'm okay with slaughtering like fucking tribes people. And I instantly just thought to myself, why didn't you just say like the tribes people weren't human? Like they were like some weird mutated feral race or something. Because he never brought that up.
He did actually.
Oh, he did. Okay, so that's good then.
Yes.
Okay, I thought he just like took the L on it or something.
No. He argues a lot of this shit a lot more eloquently than you'd think. Okay. Also, with Ask Yourself and Avi both with heavy prep time, and having seen him literally debate someone else on stream, being able to go ahead and like review his debate, whereas he could not do the same for them, and having fucking JHC review the graph in question, still as a tag team we're not able to beat Destiny. It was so bad again that Avi literally had to drop like the major point of contention, which is whether you could have deontology on the graph.
Well, that's what we talk about later, right? So then Destiny leaves that conversation. He does a fuck ton of research with Rem or whatever. They're like talking about it. They get some other like weird, I don't know what philosophers he has on his team, but he gets some more people in the call. And then a few hours later, he debates Avi. And then after that, they get really mad. They start talking about it afterwards again. But it was after this Avi debate that Destiny was really questioning himself. So it was like, even this Destiny with this great ability to kind of like read up and research, he was still... And now I'm not saying that fucking Ask Yourself is better than Destiny. I think we're getting off on the wrong foot there. It's more so the struggle.
No. I know.
It's more so the struggle aspect. Yeah. So it was like, and I'm just trying to articulate that like my ability to adapt was just way higher, from what I can tell. Literally day one of philosophy, I came in, I debated like a bunch of vegans. I debated you on veganism. And then I literally, the next day, I was swapping out and just trying to rhetorically bash with Krillism. And I barely knew what I was talking about, and I was slapping them. I don't know. It just seemed like, from my opinion, Destiny just has a lot less adaptation feats than I do, if that makes sense.
No. I'm not. So these are, and we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I think your two major points of strength over him are rhetorical and adaptive skill.
Right.
The issue is, I don't think the adaptivity you have will be enough to make up for any difference in research he has, if it's anything, for example, philosophical. Because if he brings up terms you're literally not acquainted with, there's not really enough you can do unless you learn the term and you find something to debunk it automatically, right? Okay. That'll be the issue you come into. Like, for example, here, and I'll hit you with the same thing that fucking Destiny had to go through. And you tell me how you'd adapt to this, and you'll see the issue he's running into.
Okay.
How do you go ahead and how do you have a graph with fucking deontology, which is the view that essentially some things are fundamentally wrong, and also have it on the same graph as utilitarianism, where you go ahead and you basically evaluate things on, as they put it, well-being minus suffering? How do you have those on the same graph?
So the way that
And say you have to argue against you can't have deontology in the graph. How would you do it?
So I'm against this concept because I personally
Yes.
do vouch for it being on there because I am actually polyaxiomatic. Okay, so
Keep in mind, polyaxiomatic's not a real term. They're just fucking, they're off. Oh my god.
well, that's the term I'm going to use for.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you want me to call it threshold deontology? I don't know what you want me to call it. I don't care.
Yeah, because that's an actual term. But I mean, either way, say you're arguing against it. All right.
Okay, so I've never actually thought about having to argue against it. So I do have to think about it for at least a second. I'm sure Destiny was thinking about it too before it started. So why deontology can't be on the graph? Okay, so the reason that deontology can't be on the graph is because it basically has an infinite moral negative. Does that make sense? So like
What do you mean?
So every single action that you could possibly commit is basically is all infinitely just bad. It's evil. It is basically just borderline cannot accept, no matter what, right? Whereas utilitarianism, it measures things directly in numbers. So whereas deontology is black and white, it's yes or no. Utilitarianism is gray, right? It's like you can number it. Whereas the deontology is 0 and 1. Utilitarianism is more like negative 100 well-being or plus 100 depending on an act. So I feel like this infinite discrepancy cannot actually graph these things accurately because either one thing is good or it's bad. Whereas in utilitarianism, they're measuring it. Well, this thing is slightly better or slightly good compared to this thing that is bad or good, if that makes sense. So there is no actual way to graph these things if there's an infinite discrepancy in the definition. That's the way I would argue it.
Okay, and so their basic response would be, well, it's polyaxiomatic, and there's no disrespect to either of the fundamental reasonings behind, deontology and utilitarianism. They're just both, set into one system. And so, would you say that y equals u is the same as y equals u minus d?
Okay, so maybe I'm not understanding what u and d are. Is there like a chart? I remember they had a chart with these things on it. Can I see that chart? Do you have it?
Yeah, let me see. Let me grab the screenshot.
Yeah, just so I know exactly what D and U are, because those were actual terms on the graph, I think. I'm gonna pee while you find that. Alright, I'm back. You have the graph?
Yeah, check the video. It's in there.
Is it weird that while thinking about this, that I'm starting to more agree with Destiny's side? I don't know. This is weird. I don't like this.
Yeah, because it's basically, and this is what the Berkeley students said to death, and this is the accurate way to go ahead and argue it. It's literally just, okay, if you have both lines, the reasoning underlying either one of them, right?
Yeah.
For you to have a system like that, you basically have to agree with two obviously different forms of reasoning, which basically undermines both of them.
Just so that you don't give me an answer or anything. What I was thinking of, I don't mean to ignore your question, but this is just some extra thoughts I had about if I were to argue. Fine. I would say that deontology is almost like more so an old school definition of good and evil, whereas it blatantly defines something as good or bad to an infinite value, whereas utilitarianism is more of a modern way, more of a subjective way of thinking. I prefer this, rather than saying this is objectively good or bad, if that makes sense. It's more so them subjectively measuring these things rather than instantly declaring them as one action or another, rather than actually calculating the consequences of the action. So it's kind of like calculating the difference between a cube and a square. Like one just has one extra piece to it that can move up and down this chain of preferences, whereas deontology is just yes or no, right? It's 2D compared to this 3-dimensional preference system, if that makes sense. That was generally what I was thinking. But let me look at this graph real quick. Hold on.
Or actually, I don't want to reveal much.
I'm such a biased tard for not actually thinking about Destiny's side. I feel like such a fucking normie for that.
Dude, I'm telling you. They're actually fucking idiots.
Yeah, definitely should have thought about this more. I mean, to be fair, I was just listening to see who won, but that's just me being a cunt. Okay, so Y equals moral value of a given action. P equals U plus D. U equals utilitarianism. D equals deontology. P equals threshold deontology. Okay. Yeah, so what was the question you asked? Sorry. Earlier?
Yeah, their question. Yes, they say
You're lagging.
criticism is
You're lagging.
well. You can have both.
You're lagging, yeah.
Yeah, what about now?
Okay, I can sense some robotic shit, but let's see. Let's try saying it again.
Saying it again.
Okay, yeah. All right, I think you're good. Let's try the question.
Yeah. So their response would essentially be it's a polyaxiomatic system. Okay. And so to say that it's just utilitarianism or consequentialism is basically saying y equals u is the same as y equals u plus d.
Okay, so y equals u, moral action equals utilitarianism, is the same as y equals u plus d.
Yeah, would you say that?
So they're saying utilitarianism is the same as threshold deontology?
Yeah, so their argument basically went ahead and became, you can have both, and it still forms a coherent system because it's a polyaxiomatic system.
Well, then it's just utilitarianism. Why was that? That doesn't make any sense. They literally just said that by definition, their own argument could be utilitarianism. I don't understand. They said.
Well, how could it be utilitarianism with deontology?
Because it's not deontology. They're just misdefining it. Deontology is just it's good or evil. you can't say something.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just dumb. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Okay. This is the conversation Destiny had with them for like about an hour.
Really? Okay, I'm not gonna lie.
If you go watch it,
yeah,
that's it.
I only heard the I only heard JHC, to be honest. I guess I'm really kind of a cuckboy for just listening to ask yourself in the chat's like perspective of it without listening to it. But yeah, that is pretty dumb. That is fucking wild. Yeah. Threshold deontology sounds retarded.
Yeah, because it's not exactly all that different than I just value some things more statically than I do others. Like, it wouldn't be exactly all that different.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and if you think about it, it's like, well, why wouldn't you kill one person to save two people? And then they're like, well, that just doesn't seem right. And it's like, well, why? And it's like, because it affects you, right? It's affecting you. You value how it affects you more than an extra life. Do you think it affects society on a certain level too much? If you are okay with murdering people for a slight increase or whatever, or like an extra death. But yeah, it's just utilitarianism. That's all it is. And it's just because like I said, it's like the differences are infinite. So a slight increase or decrease in these values don't add up to deontology. I don't know. How do you think I adapted to that one? I feel like I grasped it. I don't know.
Yeah. So also, I don't know if I'd agree with them at all. I mean, the way threshold deontology is like explained, it's basically that you have certain priorities that you'll uphold, and you will keep in mind outcomes, but you still keep in mind, your values more so than outcomes, right? So like you'd care more about, I don't know, like I don't know, let's say like fucking human rights more than you would about whether eating the sandwich is gonna, be good for you.
Which is utilitarianism. You're just assigning certain utility differently to different actions. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So no, that's utilitarianism.
And so JHC was like technically correct, which is why Destiny like agreed with them. But like threshold deontology is I don't know, it's almost saying like skinny fat. Like it's almost oxymoronic.
Yeah. That is pretty strange. Anyway, where were we going? we're just talking about. Oh, this was just an adaptation test. So
Yeah.
okay, so it's just
It
was
was
just seeing if like my adaptation was like on a level or something.
So you guys basically did about the same thing, believe it or not.
That's wild. Although to be fair, my adaptation is more long term. To be fair, like that's generally how I do it, but that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be fair, we had a similar adaptation with him having way more experience. All right, don't forget. All right, don't forget. He's got years.
Yeah, I will say he did, but also like I don't fucking talk about threshold deontology that often. They literally were, if I remember correctly, they'd been doing like weeks of research on this, and they randomly came at Destiny out of nowhere.
Yeah, that graph is slightly overwhelming when you just first look at it. It's like, what the fuck is going on? So, yeah, I could kind of understand why he might fall through a little bit. But
yeah, which is why I don't like count it as name. And if you want to go off the Darth Dawkins shit, as fucking dumb as this is in terms, he doesn't really care necessarily all that much if he wins or loses a debate.
Yeah,
it's more so he just does it for like sport almost. But I'll give you an example of another time he literally just went off someone's script as opposed to like trying to present stuff they're not ready for. He did it with Nicholas Fuentes. And with Nick Fuentes,
who the fuck is Nicholas? You said his name a few times. I'm gonna look him up. Nicholas, is he on YouTube?
Look him up. He's an alt-right dude. He's a really fucking good debater too.
Nicholas Fuentes, 19,000 subs. All right, I see him. Yeah. All right, continue.
Yeah, he basically has a script to argue against immigration, and so Destiny argued with him, took the L the first time, went and rewatched the video, and like broke down his script, and then went ahead and had a response for literally everything he had in the script the next time. And he fucking blew him out the water.
Oof.
That's the sort of thing he doesn't like to go ahead and like present shit you're not ready for. Because I don't know why. I don't know if he does it for like challenge. I don't know if he does it like out of integrity, but he does that. And there's press.
Yeah, I don't think I have that integrity. I think I'm willing to take advantage of whatever I can.
Me neither, dude.
Yeah,
I'm surprised he.
Yeah.
I think that's like a recent development for me. Like I'll do it now for like challenge, but like not normally or not naturally.
Yeah, like the only time I ever have integrity in a debate is like, okay, I'm like, oh man, this guy's being kind of nice, like I don't know or something, but that's pretty much it. It's kind of a flaw that you described to me one time in DM. It's like some people like they just like are a kryptonite to your true style of rhetoric or something, and it's hard. But
dude, that's how I am with Paco.
Oh shit. Well, Paco seems like such a chill guy.
I think Paco has yeah. I'm like 90% sure Paco has more W's on me than anyone else, like in the last year. We didn't even talk that often.
Oh shit. Yeah. So.
Yeah, because you have one on me, and then depending on how the rest of this conversation goes, maybe a second one.
Maybe.
But you know, Paco still has 3. So.
Oh shit. Do you think it's just because Paco is really good, or just because like just because of that weakness?
Paco's good, but he definitely makes up for like the difference and stuff. Just being nice.
Yeah, you're starting to robot a little bit.
Wait, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I said he definitely makes up for the difference by being a little too nice. I'm not really used to that.
He might do it on purpose. Maybe he's rating you.
I don't know. He does it to fucking Kali and fucking. I think he's done it to. He did it to this dude named Suture in here.
You're lagging
who's
out.
Got like pretty solid W's.
You're lagging out. You gotta.
Fuck it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, thanks, Cringe. I didn't see that you linked the video. I wasn't checking the other chats.
Yeah.
Yeah. That yo was pretty robotic.
Okay, it's better. Oh my god, dude, my internet shit today is
Hey Seth, I got a question for you.
Hold on. Trini, you just went to another dimension again. Alright, what's up, Eli?
Hey bro, so is like Destiny like one of your better debaters or something?
What do you mean by better debaters? Like on a personal list if I had made one, or Yeah, I mean, like, there's only, I think when it comes to like polarizing internet debaters, like Destiny should be on most people's lists, probably like in a top 10 at least. But I think he'd be more so near the bottom from what I'm hearing. I'd have to look more into the other debaters that Trini keeps mentioning, like Nicholas Fuentes or something.
I'm back.
Yo, what's up?
Okay. So, I was just saying that fucking Paka makes up the difference by being, overtly nice, and he does this consistently with other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he beat this guy named Spider Suture in here, who's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Suture, who has a W over Kali.
Yeah, they just, like, get cucked by his, like, pressure or something. His fucking vibes just weaken him.
Because if you're mean to him, it's almost like an L anyway, because it looks like you're getting, like, upset over nothing.
Yeah, it definitely seems like you might be like an immature, or like a baby or something. So like, even if you were mean to him, you just seem like your argument was weaker and less mature or something.
Yeah, like you're getting sensitive over nothing. Yeah,
exactly. Anyway,
yeah,
this debate's been going on for a few hours, and I do have to go soon. So like, do you want to just like conclude, and we can talk for a bit before I leave, or what do you want to do?
Yeah,
we're kind of like bullshit.
Yeah,
anyway.
bet.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, do you want to just leave this as a straw poll, or how do you want to set this up? Or do you just want to leave it as it is? It's up to you.
I'd rather just leave it as it is because I don't trust the people in here judging based on what they feel. No offense.
Oh my god, you're the one who have more. You're the one who has more fans, nigga. What do you mean?
No, I have more fans, but not in here. Not in here is what I'm saying. Like, cause
you have some fans in here, believe it or not.
Oh, come on. I'm not doing that.
You'd be surprised. Also, just to keep in mind, half the people in here, I'm not going to send any names, cough, Eli, cough, no luck. Like, try to get the fuck out of me in debates, and they're like super rude to me half the time, so I don't know.
No, I do think they would vote for you here, no offense.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just.
Nigga, I can't even remember half the shit that was said.
But,
yeah. So I mean,
this was so unstructured because I was expecting to debate Seth like, fucking like a week ago, if that, and I'm like waiting.
Yep.
Seth back to me, dude. So fucked up, and I have to ask him, and he was like, "What about right now? I'm about to get asleep," and I'm like, "Dude, like I'm like about to walk when it's raining, like."
Bro, you gotta quit walking underneath them trees.
To be fair,
so Seth, if you weren't about me being biased, let me explain this to you. For one, the reason I joined your server was because you was actually my favorite YouTuber.
Well,
that's the truth. All right, but as far as Trini,
wait, why this server?
That is my boy. You know what I'm saying? I've been cool with him. But out of respect for how you both guard things, Trini could probably tell you that I am not really a biased person. Like me and him get into it plenty of times. Like I'm not finna suck his ass.
Okay.
I'm not gonna suck your ass either. You know what I'm saying? Just because you was a YouTuber that I really like doesn't mean I'm going to suck your ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? People that
what Derek Lewis said, he eats his wife's ass, so why won't you?
I understand where you're coming from, but I feel like if we're going to set up like a straw poll based judgment, the debate should be structured in a neutral server. Does that make sense? Like I can take your word. I can understand your word, but it just does not. It's like, dude, it's like going into Ask Yourself server and be like, well, Ask Yourself's like, well, why don't we just ask the audience who won? Type 1 in chat if you think I won, right? It just seems like it just seems like that bullshit. No offense, I'm not saying you guys are that bad, but I don't want to take that risk. You know what I'm saying? Like that just sounds that's just not that's not a
now I'm insulted. We're gonna have another screen match because you did yourself, nigga.
No,
okay,
man,
so I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
If I was to give you all right, so this wouldn't be a ruling. Would you be willing to hear my opinion on the argument so far? Not a ruling, not a outright opinion.
Well, there's no need for so far because it's over, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's done now.
Yeah. So I guess you could just do it.
Right. So you was able to kind of like bounce back out of that storm real quick, which is like that was like really good. As far as towards the end, you kind of changed your point of views, but that was like I think that was after the debate was over. But for the most part,
Oh no, the end was mainly him. It was him testing me on my ability to adapt and if it could compete or be superior to Destiny. So he gave me a test and he's like, "Oh, you did very similar to Destiny," and I was like, "Yeah, but this is also me with years less of experience or whatever." So we came to the conclusion that I had better adaptation. That was the whole point of that.
So the truth is, you did adapt pretty well. Because Trini is like really good at adapting, and he changed up, like he switched up multiple strategies, like consistently, and it was like you was backfiring, you was hitting them both at the same time, like back to back to back. But it seemed like with that one thing, it seemed like he was almost about to press you and nail in the hammer. But I believe it was something like similar to what Trini said. I mean, he said right when he was about to nail in the point, it was basically like you kind of found a way to like put the pressure on him so he couldn't. Like, well, he kind of found a way to you found a way to get up and stop him from putting the pressure on you, so he couldn't really get that final blow in.
Well, that's pretty much what he was doing too with like the whole information GT thing. Yeah, so there was numerous situations, yeah, where that was on both feet.
You know, I feel like hey, you know, I'm not that good with words, but that's how I would gauge it. Like, I felt like it was very competitive. If I was a ruler, I would honestly see it like kind of like a draw, because I couldn't really see where someone had like a upper hand on neither side, but I seen both points.
And yeah, that's the problem with those ultra subjective debates, especially if two people are very like skilled in like rhetoric. It's definitely going to come down to like really, even as a debater, it's like almost like how the fuck do you win? I described this earlier. It's more about like just convincing the audience that you're less absurd or something, rather than like fully actually having an objective argument, which is like the reason it feels that way for sure. That is definitely a limit to these type of debates.
So I also wanted to request, one day would you be willing to debate me like in Dragon Ball Z or something?
Yeah, I'll debate you or whatever.
All right.
Shit.
I think. What do you think about this so far, Trini?
I heard you said I was a terrible debater. So what do you think now?
Wait, what did you think? What did you think?
I
about,
know people were telling me you thought I was bad, so I want to know what you think now.
Can I prove that's a lie?
Wait, is that a lie? Because you want to know what? I'll be honest, dude. My source I think is Bucky, so I don't know.
Let me just show you. Let me just show you real quick. Hold on.
How did you feel the debate went while I was like debating you for like 70% of it while it was like fucking raining and like I'm walking?
It was fucking annoying.
Dude, at one point, like I just lagged out for like I think like a good 3 minutes here. I was like, yeah, I heard it. Like,
yeah, and I was just like, and at some points, I think Cancer made a meme. He was like, yeah, he's gonna come back and say, can you repeat the last 10 minutes, like or something? I was like, yeah. Hold on, I'm trying to find the. Second. Yeah, me and Bucky talked about like if I thought you were good or not.
Wait, is that still like a recording or that's you talking?